Chapter 1703. Something's not good. I think House Yu is done for this time. Lu Jinghan pondered for a moment and said. She was a person who was good at calculation and analysis. Based on the research and analysis she had collected on Lin Yi during this period of time, it seemed that Lin Yi would not do something so stupid as to throw away his life. There was only one possibility, and that was that Lin Yi had absolute confidence. Then House Yu would be in danger. Lu Tianyi raised his eyebrows and walked quickly towards Lin Yi. Under everyone's surprised gaze, he greeted Lin Yi enthusiastically. Miracle Dr. Lin, you're here. Why didn't you tell me in advance that I was going to pick you up? Hee, I'm here to cause a scene. If I told you, wouldn't I implicate you? Lin Yi was also a little surprised that Lu Tianyi would publicly support him at this time. One had to know that Lin Yi's current strength was far below House Yu's in everyone's eyes, but Lu Tianyi supported him so decisively. This was not an easy feat. Therefore, at this moment, the Lu family was also included in Lin Yi's scope of use. What are you talking about? What's there to implicate? You are my father's savior and our Lu family's great benefactor. Our Lu family will go through water and tread on fire to help you. Lu Tianyi said. You're not bad. Lin Yi nodded. But Mr. Lu, you should stay away for a while. You're not a cultivator, so you can't solve the problem here. Lu Tianyi nodded and dodged to the side. Lu Tianyi, how are you? As soon as Lin Yi came, you went to suck up to him. House Yu will remember this grudge. Shuixing felt like he'd lost a lot of face. Lu Tianyi was slapping him in the face. And so, Shuixing decided that once this was over, the next target would be House Lu. Alright, don't write it down. I reckon that after today you'll lose your ability to remember. Lin Yi said indifferently. What do you mean? Yu Feng raged. Lin Yi, don't think I'm scared of you just because you're a level higher than me. My father is a mystic late phase peak, one step away from the Earth class. It's not too late for you to kneel and beg for mercy. What do you mean he doesn't know? Lin Yi shrugged and turned to Yushu. Shu, this guy's a little dumb. Tell him what he means. Shield bro means to tell you that after today you're a dead man. Dead people don't have memories. Yushu said proudly as she looked at Lin Yi. Shield bro, am I right? Congratulations, you're absolutely right. Lin Yi nodded. Yushu made a victory sign with her hand. Ah. Yu Feng started laughing. Lin Yi, are you out of your mind? You're just a bunch of old people and you want to challenge me? Who do you think you are? I can kill you even if I'm a cripple. Yu Qian clenched his fists and looked at Yu Feng. Yu Feng, didn't your House Yu say it? If you want to solve your grudges, you can do it with force? Very well, I'll challenge you now. Challenge me? Yu Feng's eyes widened as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. You're a cripple and you want to challenge me? Qin Yu Tian, do you want to die? We don't know who's going to die yet. Yu Tian said indifferently. The humiliation from that day, I'll wash it away today. Head Qin, you see, your grandson is the one who wants to die, we didn't kill him. Yu Feng said to Kuanglan, you know the rules of the arena. Life and death are decided by the heavens, and there's no need to pursue this matter. Kuanglan was surprised by Yu Tian's sudden appearance, and even more so by his sudden challenge to Yu Feng. But as far as he was concerned, his grandson wasn't that impulsive, and Yushu was here as well. How could he just watch Yu Tian walk to his death? There had to be something he didn't know, but he still said, this is Yu Tian's decision, I support him. Alright, let's go to the arena next door. Shuixing, on the other hand, wanted to see what Lin Yi was up to, but in order to prevent them from playing any tricks, he spoke up first. Qin Yu Tian, since you're the one who issued the challenge, you should go up, right? You won't find someone to replace you, will you? To be honest, Shuixing was really afraid that Yu Tian would find Lin Yi to replace him. And so, he blocked Yu Tian's escape route and continued, don't say that Lin Yi is your sister's boyfriend, that he's part of House Qin too. No need, I'll take my revenge with my own hands. Yu Tian looked at Shuixing with disdain. Alright, you're asking to die, so don't blame anyone else. Shuixing said. As long as Lin Yi didn't go up, everything would be fine. Yu Tian was a cripple, and even if he wasn't in a wheelchair, he was only a mystic early phase, 2 levels lower than Yu Feng. Yu Feng could easily beat him up. There's no need for the arena, we can settle it here. Yu Tian said. Ah. Do what you want, but don't say that I'm bullying you. You're just a piece of trash in my hands and you still are. Yu Feng laughed as he walked towards Yu Tian, but his laughter stopped abruptly. Because he saw Qin Yu Tian, who was sitting in the wheelchair, stand up. Yu Feng's eyes widened. Wasn't Yu Tian disabled? Wasn't he in a wheelchair? How could he stand up? Yu Feng pointed at Yu Tian in disbelief. Aren't you disabled? Who told you that disabled people can't recover? I just got out of the hospital, can't I? Yu Qin looked at Yu Feng mockingly. Why are you in a wheelchair? Yu Feng felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't pinpoint it. After all, no matter how strong Yu Qin was, he was only a mystic early phase, and that was before he was injured. Even if Lin Yi had some miraculous medicine that could heal Yu Qian's wounds and restore his strength, he was only an early phase mystic class master. Even if he broke through during this period of time, he could only be a peak early phase mystic class master. There was still a gap between him and Lin Yi. What was there to be afraid of? However, Yu Feng had an indescribable sense of foreboding. He felt that this matter was a little too strange. Oh, I was in a wheelchair every day in the hospital, so I'm used to it. Yu Qin stretched his body. Suddenly standing up makes me feel a little lightheaded, so the doctor told me to do some recovery training, but they're using you. Target equals underscore blank. Chapter 1704. Are you messing with me? Wow bro, you're so pretentious but not as good as Shield bro, Yushu complimented. Yu Qin was about to say of course, when he heard the second half of his sister's sentence. He almost fell back into the wheelchair. But thinking about it, it was normal that he wasn't as strong as Lin Yi. If he was stronger than Lin Yi, why would he call Lin Yi his boss? Yu Qin said proudly, that's right, I wanted to make some entrance music just like in dramas. Too bad I came in a rush and didn't have time to prepare anything. That's right, I didn't have time. Fuck, Yu Qin, don't think that you can beat me now that you're out of the hospital. You're just an early phase mystic class, you're dreaming if you think you can beat me. Yu Qin and Yushu's words completely infuriated Yu Feng. He was ignored and this made him furious. Who told you that I'm still an early phase mystic class? Yu Qin asked back. Yu Feng, there's something wrong with your brain. You're not an early phase mystic class, are you at the peak of early phase mystic class? Yu Feng froze. No. Yu Qin shook his head. Then you're still an early phase mystic class. Are you messing with me? Yu Feng was stunned by Yu Qian's words, and his embarrassment turned into anger. He wanted to charge at Yu Qian. Yu Qian, I think you're here to die. Feng, wait? Shuixing felt that something was wrong. Yu Feng was hot-headed, but Shuixing wasn't hot-headed. He felt that something was wrong. No matter how stupid Yu Qian was, he wouldn't come here to die, would he? Could it be that this kid had some dirty tricks up his sleeve? After all, from Shuixing's perspective, it was impossible for Yu Qian to increase his strength, but he might have a trump card. Otherwise, why would he dare to provoke him like this? What, Shuixing? Are you going back on your words and breaking the rules you set yourself? Grudges and grudges should be settled with strength? Grandpa Qin Kuanglan, saw that his grandson was full of confidence and his granddaughter was also very normal. Although he was puzzled, he understood his grandson and granddaughter better than anyone else. Yu Qian was a little impulsive, but he wouldn't do something so stupid. Plus he had Yushu by his side. How could Yushu let Yu Qian die? Especially that mysterious Lin Yi. Elder Qin had heard of him a long time ago. Although he was Mengyao and Shu's bodyguard on the surface, what he did wasn't something a bodyguard should do. Killing a master from House Yu and crippling a master from House Yu? Was this something a normal bodyguard would do? Plus, that wasn't all. Wasn't the hidden House Pai powerful? Lin Yi still got rid of one and his follower Air Gooden got rid of two. House Pai didn't even dare to fart. Wasn't that suspicious? If this wasn't amazing, then Jin Wudi and his disciple Ma Zhu from the Golden Bell sect were both killed by Lin Yi and Air Gooden. This was a miracle. Jin Wudi was a master of the Golden Bell shield, and even Earth-class masters had to be careful of him. Yet he was killed by Lin Yi's follower in one punch. What kind of level was this? And so, Qin Kuanglan thought of all these miracles, and it was as if he'd taken a stimulant. He started shaking all of a sudden, sweeping away the darkness and pressure from before. He'd thought it through. Since his grandson was so confident, he'd go crazy with him this time. House Qin was about to fall, and with Lin Yi's help, he might be able to turn the situation around. Shuixing paused at the change in Qin Kuanglan's attitude, but it was fine if he didn't say it. Now that he said it, Shuixing felt more confident. He wasn't as old as Qin Kuanglan, but his eyes were sharper and sharper. One look and he saw the hidden worry and madness in Qin Kuanglan's eyes. It seemed like this old thing was worried as well, and Qin Kuanglan probably didn't know about what Yu Qian had done today. This meant that Yu Qian had acted on his own, or Qin Kuanglan wouldn't have that expression on her face right now. Taking a step back, if House Qin had really prepared beforehand, then Qin Kuanglan wouldn't have been forced to this state at the start. If that was the case, then what was there to be afraid of? Perhaps Yu Qian wasn't willing to give up, and came to get revenge as soon as he recovered. Or maybe he learned some tricks from Lin Yi, and thought he was strong enough to challenge Yu Feng. From Shuixing's perspective, if Yu Qian really had absolute confidence, there was no way Qin Kuanglan wouldn't know about it, and House Chen wouldn't be so passive this time. Of course, this was only what a normal person would think. Shuixing neglected the fact that Lin Yi had a deeper intention, and that was to destroy House Yu. Yu Qian's revenge on Yu Feng was just a prelude, a warm-up. The real show was yet to come. But this was something Shuixing couldn't have foreseen. How could he know that Lin Yi was already in Earth class? Of course not, I just have some things that I need to make clear, Shuixing said faintly as he looked at Qin Kuanglan. Before the challenge, I'm sure you understand the rules of the arena, right? Life and death are up to the heavens and no one can be held accountable? Of course. Qin Kuanglan felt a little guilty after hearing Shuixing's words, but he still tried to act tough. What's there to say? We're all from noble houses, of course we know this. Yu Qian knows this as well. That's good. Lil Feng, don't go easy on him, be careful of his dirty tricks. Shuixing nodded, hinting to Yu Feng, he wanted him to kill as soon as possible so that Yu Qian wouldn't have a chance to make a comeback. Shuixing, on the other hand, saw the flash of worry in Qin Kuanglan's eyes, and this made him feel more at ease. It seemed that Qin Kuanglan didn't have confidence in Yu Qian either. He was thinking too much, Shuixing thought. No problem. Qin Yu Qian, I didn't kill you last time, but I won't go easy on you this time. Since you're here, you should be prepared to die. With that, Yu Feng's hands turned into palms, slapping towards Yu Qian. Lin Yi saw this move, but Lin Yi shook his head. The difference between Mystic and Earth class wasn't just a little bit. It was a dividing line, and that wasn't wrong at all. Upon reaching the Earth rank, one could learn martial techniques, and only with martial techniques could one be called a true cultivator. In the past he'd only been a beginner. But now that Lin Yi was an Earth class master, Yu Feng was nothing more than a beginner. Chapter 1705. Was this a dream? Yu Qian's lips curled into a cold smile as he channeled his own practitioner's arts, pushing out his palms as well, wanting to use the same move to meet Yu Feng's attack. Watch out, Feng. Shuixing felt Yu Qian's strength in that instant, and at the same time he couldn't help but blurt out, careful. But it was too late, the two's palms collided in an instant, and it wasn't an exaggeration to say that Yu Feng was sent flying by Yu Qian the moment Shuixing's words left his mouth, crashing into the white wall of the meeting room. The force of the impact created a human-shaped hole in the wall, with blood stains all over it. Mystic mid-phase and Mystic late-phase peak were two completely different fighters. If they'd been fighting with techniques, Yu Feng wouldn't have lost so badly, but Yu Feng had chosen to fight head-on. He'd listened to Shuixing's words and wanted to kill Yu Qian right off the bat, but he hadn't expected the opponent's chi to be so strong that he'd been sent flying. Everyone was dumbfounded, including Qin Kuanglan and the other heads of the noble houses. They stared at Yu Qian in disbelief. House Chen's Yu Qian was a nobody at first, a small golden class early phase. It wasn't until recently that he made a name for himself, but it was an ironic one. People said that he was trying to steal Yu Feng's woman right after he broke through to the early phase of Mystic class, and that he was heavily injured and crippled. But no one would have thought that Yu Qian would become a Mystic late phase peak, and appear at the noble house meeting like this. Now, even an idiot would know that Yu Qian came prepared, and that he wasn't just hot-blooded. Of course, these people were just shocked and envious, but Elder Chen was shaking with excitement. He remembered what Yu Qian said to him on the phone a few days ago. Grandpa, I will be your pride. But he had done it. What did a Mystic late phase peak mean to House Chen? Qin Kuanglan knew it all too well. This was a top noble house and only House Yu had won. In other words, the rise of the Qin family was no longer a dream. Qin Kuanglan wanted to laugh out loud. Her name was really good. Qin Kuanglan had truly turned the tide. At the Qin family's most critical moment, her grandson had turned the tide for her and raised the Qin family's morale. Xiao Feng. Shuixing stood up abruptly, roaring in anger. Qin Yu Qian, you're a Mystic late phase peak? How dare you trick me? I'm cheating? Yu Qian smiled. When did I say that I'm not a Mystic late phase peak? Did I say that? I'm just saying that I'm not at the early phase of Mystic class, nor am I at the peak of the early phase. You and your son are stupid thinking that I'm weak. Yu Qian's question froze Shuixing's face. Yu Qian didn't say that he wasn't a Mystic late phase peak, it was a misunderstanding. But when Shuixing saw Yu Feng covered in blood, he had the urge to kill Qin Yu Qian. But now, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Shuixing really couldn't do anything to Yu Qian. The noble house meeting had its own rules, and if House Yu were to break the rules, how could they continue to be the leader in the future? With that thought, Shueishing decided to check on Yu Feng's injuries first, and then find a chance to wipe out House Chen. Of course he couldn't do it now. Not only could he not do it, but he had to be generous and let House Chen continue to be a noble house. That was the only way to show House Yu's generosity and selflessness. As for taking revenge on House Chen after that, he just had to do it in secret and not let others criticize him. Shueishing humphed coldly at the thought. He stood up and walked towards Yu Feng, intending to check on Yu Feng's injuries when he heard Lin Yi's faint voice. Since House Yu said that his life and death is up to the heavens, then you can send him to hell. Lin Yi looked at Yu Feng and said to Yu Tian. Because your name is Qin Yu Tian, that's why your life and death is up to the heavens. Ah shield bro, you're so talented. Yu Shu was amused by Lin Yi's words. Yes. Yu Tian didn't plan on letting Yu Feng. If it weren't for Lin Yi's help, he would have had to spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. There was no way he would let Yu Feng go so easily. And so Yu Tian answered and flew towards Yu Feng. Shueishing and Yu Tian were both mystic masters, and both of them were at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. Yu Tian was closer to Yu Feng, and so naturally he reached Yu Feng's side first. Yu Tian raised his foot, stomping down on Yu Feng's left leg. The crisp sound of bone breaking was especially ear-piercing in the quiet meeting room, making Shueishing's heart tremble. Brat, don't you dare. You're looking to die. Yu Feng has already lost and you still want to kill him? But Yu Tian acted as if he didn't hear Shueishing's words. He raised his foot again and stomped down on Yu Feng's right leg. Another crisp crack sounded and Yu Feng's right leg broke as well. Yu Feng was finally woken up by the intense pain, but it was only for a split second before he fainted again with a howl of agony. Looks like the head of the Yu house is quite agitated. Shanshan, go talk to him, tell him to calm down. Lin Yi said to Lingshan. Alright. Lingshan didn't say anything and went to block Shueishing's path, stopping him from getting close to Yu Tian. At that moment, Lingshan's mystic late phase peak was on full display, and Shueishing's steps froze. Another mystic late phase peak? Shueishing looked at Lingshan in disbelief. He never would have thought that mystic late phase peak would become so worthless all of a sudden. These kids from noble houses who didn't show their strength before were all mystic late phase peak now. At that moment, Xiangwen's face turned red with excitement as well. House Chen's Yu Tian had become a mystic late phase peak, and all he could do was envy and jealousy. But this time, if House Chen was lucky enough to survive this, then the next unlucky ones would be House Song. He didn't think that his granddaughter would become a mystic late phase peak as well. This was too shocking. His granddaughter had just broken through to mystic early phase not too long ago, and now she was a mystic late phase peak now? This span and this leveling speed gave Song Xiangwen a surreal feeling. Was he dreaming? #target equals _blank. Chapter 1706. Chapter 1707. Another Earth class. However, what happened next proved to Song Xiangwen that he was not dreaming. Headyu, you're the one who said that life and death is up to the heavens. Please don't break the rules of the noble house meeting. Lingshan hated Yu Feng to the bone, and naturally wouldn't let Shueishing interfere. Song girl, do you really think that just because you're a mystic late phase peak like me, you're on the same level as me? Shueishing smiled coldly as he looked at Lingshan. I can tell just by looking at your skills. You've only just reached mystic late phase peak, and haven't stabilized it yet. It'll be too easy for me to beat you. However, as Shueishing spoke, Yu Qin broke Yu Feng's left arm with a stomp. Shueishing's heart clenched as he threatened again, don't force me to break a flower. Wu Qintian. Lin Yi could tell that Lingshan wasn't a match for Shueishing alone. After all, Shueishing was a mystic late phase peak, and he'd stabilized his strength a long time ago. Lingshan, on the other hand, lacked battle experience. She might really be at a disadvantage here. And so Lin Yi decided to let Qintian handle Shueishing. Go help him. Yes. Qintian stood up from the wheelchair with a whoosh, his whole body displaying the strength of a mystic late phase peak and a physical practitioner. One mystic late phase peak isn't enough. Would another mystic late phase peak be enough? Qintian's strength shocked everyone once more. The first two mystic late phase peak masters were already hard to accept, but Qintian was a dual practitioner, a mystic late phase peak. This made everyone feel like their heads were about to explode. Gong Gao stood up abruptly. Haha, I knew it, Qintian wouldn't disappoint me. Ha, he's a mystic late phase peak and a physical practitioner now. House Wu will have nothing to worry about now. Truth be told, Shueishing was confident in taking on a newbie like Lingshan, but two mystic late phase peak? That wasn't something he could handle, let alone one who was a practitioner of both body and spirit? Lingshan and Qintian stood beside Shueishing. one on the left and one on the right. They'd attack him if he made any sudden movements. Crack. Yu Feng's right arm was broken by Yu Tian as well. This made Shuixing's mouth twitch a little, but there was nothing he could do. Yu Tian and 3 mystic late phase peak masters. How could he fight them? Unless, Yu Tian didn't stop after breaking Yu Feng's limbs. He kicked Yu Feng out of the meeting room's window with a whoosh. This was the highest floor of House Yu's auction house. Yu Feng flew out of the window, and if he landed on the ground, he'd definitely be smashed into meat paste. It wouldn't be a problem if he was conscious, but he was unconscious right now and he'd probably die if he fell. Lin Feng. Shuixing didn't expect Yu Tian to be this ruthless, kicking Yu Feng out of the window. He wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Shuixing saw Yu Tian abuse Yu Feng, and he thought that the guy was just venting his anger, not taking his life. After all, if he wanted to kill Yu Feng, all he had to do was stomp on his head. Shuixing was angry, but he wasn't too worried. At least Yu Feng's life wasn't in danger, and as long as he was alive, he'd have his revenge one day. He didn't expect Yu Tian to do this all of a sudden. What he didn't know was that Yu Tian was giving Yu Feng a taste of his own medicine. Yu Tian had been kicked out of the window like this back then, just that it wasn't this high. Wah! You're looking to die, brat? Shuixing was completely furious. He didn't expect Yu Tian to be so ruthless. But he didn't know that he wanted Yu Feng to kill him back then, didn't he? Shuixing's eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the broken window. He knew that his son wasn't going to make it out of this alive. Falling from such a high place without any qi to protect him, he'd die for sure. Shuixing took a deep breath and quickly took out a pill from his pocket, throwing it into his mouth. In an instant, the qi around Shuixing's body exploded, and he went from mystic late phase peak to earth class early phase. What? Earth class early phase? Qin Kuanglan, Xiangguan and Gonggao were all taken aback. They'd never seen something as strange as this before. With just one pill, Shuixing went from mystic late phase peak to earth class early phase in one go. Ha ha ha, you didn't expect this, did you? Since you've killed my son, then none of the families that participated in this shall leave this place alive. Shuixing seemed to have gone mad as he laughed at the sky. House Qin, House Song, House Wu, House Lu, you shall all die with my son. This was Shuixing's trump card as well as his ultimate weapon. This was a pill that could instantly increase one's strength and potential, but it was an evil pill that came at the cost of one's lifespan. This pill was made by the Everyday sect, and Yu Shuixing had gotten it from the Hidden House Yu. No one in the Hidden House Yu would use a pill like this that would damage their strength, so giving one to Yu Shuixing wasn't a big deal. After all, this pill had side effects. A normal person could instantly become a golden class after using it, and a golden class could become a mystic after using it, and so on and so forth. But the price was huge. A normal person had to pay 5 years of lifespan to become a golden class, and a golden class had to pay 10 years to become a mystic. A mystic, on the other hand, had to pay 30 years of lifespan. As long as they didn't step into sky class, a practitioner's lifespan was the same as a normal person's. They might live a little longer than a normal person, but not by much. As a result, 30 years of lifespan was fatal. How many years did a person have in their life? One pill reduced 30 years of lifespan, and how many 30 years could a person have? And because of the exhaustion, a normal person would be fine, but a practitioner would drop from mystic to golden class after the effect wore off. Depending on how much energy was used up, the practitioner would drop from mystic to golden class early phase. How could someone from the Hidden House Yu use such a huge side effect? #target = blank. Chapter 1707. Shuixing, on the other hand, was extremely grateful to Shuixing, treating it like a treasure. Li Yi, now that his third brother was dead, his nephew crippled, and his son dead, what was the point of living anymore? Under the impulse of hatred, he was willing to lose 30 years of his life to consume the pill. An earth class. He's an earth class. Qin Kuanglan was the most worried of all. Shuixing's first target was Yu Tian, and so she made a quick decision. Yu Tian, run. Run. Where? Not a single one of you can run. Shuixing smiled coldly. You want to run in front of an earth class? Qin Yu Tian, I'll bury you with Feng Er first. Earth class, what's so great about that? Plus, you're a fake earth class using pills to level up. Lin Yi, who'd been standing at the door, finally moved, walking towards Shuixing as he spoke. The others didn't know what was going on, but Lin Yi wasn't a stranger to Shuixing's sudden increase in strength. Heibao had gone through something similar, and it seemed that Shuixing had used a similar method. Lin Yi? Even if you're a mystic late phase peak, you 4 mystic late phase peak masters are no match for me. Shuixing was evidently more reckless than Boss Yu, and he was more willing to risk his life than Boss Yu. Boss Yu was scared like a mouse when he faced Lin Yi, a mystic mid-phase peak, but this Shueixing wasn't afraid of 4 mystic late-phase peak masters at all. But the dragon's 9 sons were all different. Even if Boss Yu and Shueixing were from the same family, their personalities were completely different. Of course, if Shueixing were to fight Lin Yi and the other mystic late-phase peak masters with his Earth-class strength, he'd have a good chance of winning. Of course, the premise was that Lin Yi didn't have a trump card like the energy bomb. If he did, then even an Earth class would die easily. Holy Hall, what if I'm not? Lin Yi asked. No. You're even more hopeless. It looks like you're the mastermind behind all of this. I'll start with you then. Shueixing said as he flew towards Lin Yi. Wait a minute. Before we start fighting, I want to ask you something, Lin Yi said. Haha, if you have any last words you can leave them here. But I can't promise that everyone here will help you, because everyone related to you will die today. Shueixing laughed proudly. Holy Church, I'd like to ask, has your house you ever been a bodyguard for an international drug gang? Lin Yi stared at Shueixing as he pressed. Shueixing paused after hearing Lin Yi's words. He didn't think that Lin Yi would ask this question. He thought that Lin Yi wanted to say something harsh or something. Answer me, did you? Lin Yi asked. How is this possible? Our house you is a legitimate business. Why would we be a bodyguard for some drug gang? Shueixing denied flatly, but his eyes flashed with shock and suspicion. He was trying to figure out how Lin Yi knew about this. You didn't? Lin Yi had been an assassin before, and his psychological analysis was even better than Shueixing's. He could tell that Shueixing was lying just by looking at his eyes. You don't need to deny it. I have 2 friends. One is Yang Huaijuan, injured by your house you, his meridians broken, and he almost lost his life. The other is Armadillo. We don't know if he's alive or dead. What's the point of saying all that? If you want to punish us, then show me your strength. Shueixing didn't admit or deny it. It wasn't a big secret that House Yu did some shady things under their glamour after all, and the other noble houses knew a little about it. Otherwise, Huaijuan wouldn't have been able to trace the clues back to House Yu so easily. Yang Huaijuan. What happened back then? Was it your House Yu's doing? Elder Yang Daocha stood up abruptly, glaring at Shueixing. What happened to Huaijuan was a huge blow to House Yang, but they hadn't been able to find the culprit after all these years. But with Lin Yi's words, Elder Yang naturally understood what was going on. I didn't say anything. Shueixing wasn't afraid of Elder Yang at all. He humphed coldly. I'll give you one last chance. Tell me who else was involved, and I'll make sure your house you isn't destroyed. Lin Yi walked towards Shueixing, his voice lifeless as if it came from hell. Why would I remember something like that? What's the point of saying so much? Winner takes all, and if he's injured or dead, it can only be said that he's not strong enough. Shueixing said. Fine, then you can die now. Lin Yi shook his head in disappointment. Actually, I don't feel any sense of accomplishment beating a fake Earth class like you. Shueixing paused. He was about to say that Lin Yi was boasting when Lin Yi's aura burst forth. Shueixing's eyes went wide as he felt the pressure. You're an Earth class early phase? Yeah, that's why I said that beating a fake Earth class like you doesn't feel any sense of accomplishment at all. Lin Yi shook his head. Shueixing's expression changed. To be honest, he never would have thought that Lin Yi was an Earth class. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used the pill to forcefully raise his strength to Earth class early phase. After taking the pill, he would enter a state of madness. For a moment, his strength would be stronger than a real Earth rank early phase. Then he would be weakened for a month. He would become weaker and weaker until he regained his original strength. Then he would start to drop levels. But at this moment he was the strongest. However, facing a true Earth class like Lin Yi, Shueixing instinctively lost his confidence. He didn't know if he could beat Lin Yi. You were just a mystic mid-phase peak before and now you're an Earth class early phase? You must have used some unorthodox methods to get to that level. We're not that far apart, we don't know who's going to win yet. Shueixing gritted his teeth, he couldn't back down now. He could only press forward. Kid, give me your life. But after saying that, Shueixing didn't charge at Lin Yi. Instead he turned and charged at Yu Tian. Before dealing with Lin Yi, Shueixing decided to kill Yu Tian first. This way, no matter who won or lost, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1708. Earth Class Technique, Frenzy Fist. Lin Yi was an assassin, and his eyes and speed were much better than normal practitioners. How could Lin Yi not understand Shueixing's intentions when he saw him suddenly attack Yu Tian? Lin Yi had wanted to use Shueixing to practice, but it seemed like that wasn't going to work. Lin Yi's first move was an Earth Class technique. This frenzy fist was a technique Falbert had practiced before. There were only the first 3 forms, but it was more than enough for Linny right now. The first 3 forms were prepared for early phase Earth class masters. These few days Linny had been practicing frenzy fist by himself, but it was his first time using it against an enemy. Shueisheng's face froze. He didn't think that Linny had practiced a technique. One had to know that the biggest difference between Earth class and Mystic class was the training of their techniques. Shueisheng was an Earth class fake, and he had relied on elixirs to force his way up. How could he have learned any techniques? At most, his strength had reached the early phase of Earth class, or with the help of the elixirs he could temporarily reach the peak of the early phase. If it was a clash of pure strength, Linny might not be Shueisheng's opponent, but it was a different story with techniques. Martial skills were different from ordinary martial arts. Before reaching the Earth rank, the internal martial arts masters relied on condensing their Zhen Qi into their fists and feet. They relied purely on the amount of Zhen Qi and its tyrannical degree to attack the enemy. However, techniques could bring out the full potential of Qi. To put it bluntly, it was turning Qi into a form, much more domineering than pure Qi. Shueisheng was from a noble house and naturally he'd heard of techniques. Only freelancers like Linny hadn't heard of them before, but now that the newcomer had caught up, a normal frenzy fist was enough to make Shueisheng feel like he was facing a great enemy. He couldn't care less about attacking Yuqian anymore, and after hearing Lin Yi's roar he panicked and dodged, moving away from Lin Yi's attack range. However, after Shueisheng ran away, Lin Yi's fist didn't reach him. Lin Yi was still standing where he was, and this made Shueisheng confused. Didn't Lin Yi use an Earth class technique? Why did it look like nothing had happened? Sorry I failed? Lin Yi sweated. Since Falbert wasn't an Earth class, he couldn't demonstrate it himself, so Lin Yi had to figure it out himself. This was his first time in battle, and he'd fail if he wasn't careful. You're messing with me? Shueisheng subconsciously thought that Lin Yi didn't know any techniques, and was just bluffing to scare him. Holy Hall? No, I just reached Earth class not long ago and I just learned this new technique. I'm not too familiar with it so I couldn't use it. I'm sorry. Lin Yi said apologetically. Stand there and don't move, I'll use it again. See if it works. Fuck. Do you think I'm an idiot? Shueisheng was pissed off by Lin Yi's words. Did Lin Yi think he was a 3-year-old? Stand there and don't move? Wait for him to hit me? But Lin Yi didn't waste time with him. He suddenly pushed out with both fists, yelling. Frenzy fist. Shueisheng was so scared that he ran away from where he was standing, faster than a mouse. Hiding on the side, Shueisheng subconsciously looked at where Lin Yi was attacking, but realized that Lin Yi still hadn't used any techniques. Lin Yi stood where he was, and the place Lin Yi attacked didn't seem to be damaged at all. Lin Yi, you're messing with me? Shueisheng was completely enraged. He believed that Lin Yi had just learned the technique and wasn't familiar with it yet, so he hadn't used it yet. But he didn't use it the second time? Wasn't this bullshit? How could Shueisheng believe this? Anyone else would suspect that Lin Yi was just trying to scare him. I'm not messing with you, I really didn't use it. Lin Yi wasn't lying to Shueisheng. Lin Yi didn't have a target before, so he'd been practicing the techniques in his jade space. It was his first time using it against an enemy, so he'd made 2 mistakes. You're looking to die. Shueisheng raged. Wait, it'll work this time. Lin Yi said before roaring at Shueisheng again. Frenzy fist. Shueisheng didn't really believe it, but he still subconsciously dodged to the side. Lin Yi was a cunning bastard. What if he really didn't use it before and used it again? Unfortunately, Lin Yi didn't use it this time. Shueisheng was once again being played, like a monkey. This time, however, Lin Yi was truly playing him. Lin Yi didn't plan on using Frenzy Fist at all, and after 2 failed attempts, Lin Yi gave up on using Frenzy Fist and started compressing the energy bomb. To tell the truth, Lin Yi felt a bit helpless when he switched to this move. It was his only trump card and it was a bit pitiful. He'd used it from Golden Class to Earth Class, but he was still using it. Lin Yi couldn't wait to find some new trump cards, but the stone door to the 2nd floor wasn't open yet. The first layer of the Art of Dragon Mastery had been studied by Lin Yi to its fullest, and he couldn't find anything else he could use. And so, Lin Yi could only start compressing the energy, preparing to use Oscillation Fist to attack Shueisheng. Of course, he didn't show it on his face as he tricked Shueisheng. Who the hell would believe you? Shueisheng humphed as he raised his fist at Lin Yi. Brat, I'll pay with my life today. Lin Yi had already started compressing the energy in his body, but it wasn't enough time for him to hurt anyone. He could only raise his fist to meet Shueisheng's attack. Bam! The 2 fists collided in midair, creating a loud sound. This was the sound of Qi colliding between 2 Earth-class masters. Lin Yi took 2 steps back, while Shueishing didn't move an inch from where he stood. Lin Yi's face flushed red, then paled as a trickle of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood, shocking the people who'd thought highly of Lin Yi. They didn't think that Lin Yi, a true Earth-class early phase, wouldn't be able to defeat Shueishing, a pseudo-Earth-class early phase who'd relied on medicine. In fact, Shueishing was burning his own life force in exchange for strength. In the early stages of the pill's effect, Shueishing was able to maintain his Mystic-class early phase peak, which meant that he was only 1 step away from Mystic-class early phase peak. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1709. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had just leveled up to the early phase of Mystic Division, and there was still a long way to go before he reached the peak of the early phase. It was clear who had the upper hand. In terms of pure strength, Lin Yi would definitely be at a disadvantage. Although Lin Yi had the ability to fight above his level, the problem was that Lin Yi was multitasking, and the chi in his body was split into 2 parts. One was used to compress, and the other was used to fight Shueishing. Naturally, he would be at a disadvantage. This meant that Lin Yi was a bit weaker than Shueishing. If it weren't for Lin Yi taking 3 steps back and mitigating the attack from Shueishing's chi, Lin Yi would have been hurt even more. But now Lin Yi had actually suffered some internal injuries that were neither light nor heavy. Ha! And here I thought you were showing off in front of me right after reaching Earth-class early phase. Why aren't you showing off now? Spitting blood? Shueishing was overjoyed to see Lin Yi spitting blood. This meant that he was stronger than Lin Yi after taking the pill. It was worth it. You're an Earth-class early phase full circle? Lin Yi pretended to be surprised. Holy Hall, of course. Do you think I'm just taking the pill for nothing? Shueishing looked at Lin Yi proudly. Victory was within his grasp now, and his mood was getting better. You really are an idiot, calling yourself an old man in your 40s? Everyone else is acting young, you're acting old. Lin Yi said mockingly. Whatever you say, I've got you. Shueishing looked around at the people in the meeting room. Why aren't you talking? Are you scared? Why would you get involved with Lin Yi if you knew? Song Xiangwen Wu Gonggao, tell your people to stop now and I'll spare their lives. In fact, Shueishing was afraid that Lin Yi would get desperate and attack him with 3 Mystic late phase peak and an Earth-class early phase. Although he was strong and wasn't afraid of 4 Mystic late phase peak masters, there was still an Earth-class like Lin Yi. It was hard for him to control, so he spoke first to split Lin Yi's alliance. What? Are you scared? Are you afraid that the 4 of us will join forces to deal with you? Lin Yi asked. Scared? I'm just not willing to take things too far on account of our many years of friendship. As for you, I'll kill you even if you beg on your knees. Shueishing glared at Lin Yi, wanting to eat him alive. Qin Yutian was the same. He killed Yu Feng, so there was no room for reconciliation between him and House Yu. Oh, that's exactly what I want to do. Lin Yi said, I'm going to use a martial skill. This time I'm going to change to a different martial skill. Prepare to receive my attack. You want to change? You haven't even mastered one martial skill yet and you want to change? Shueishing couldn't help but laugh at Lin Yi's words. This Lin Yi sure was funny and stubborn. He'd failed 3 times already and he still wanted to try? And he wanted to change to a new martial skill? Did he think martial skills were that easy to learn? Shueishing may not have practiced martial skills before, but he knew how difficult it was. His big brother Yu Huoxing was an Earth class, but he still hadn't found a suitable martial skill, let alone Lin Yi. Yes, this is called oscillating fist. Lin Yi said, come receive my attack. I'll receive it right here, let's see what you can do to me. Shueishing laughed, not putting Lin Yi in his eyes at all. It wasn't that he was arrogant, but he didn't believe that Lin Yi could use any martial skills at all. If he could, Lin Yi would have used it a long time ago. Why would he wait until now? Normally speaking, who would use a half-baked martial skill to face an enemy first, and then use the one they were familiar with? Wasn't that insane? As far as Shueishing was concerned, Lin Yi's so-called second martial skill was either a lie, or it was even worse than the first one. It was a useless bomb. Lin Yi's chi bombs were usually used to win by surprise. If he were to face an enemy, and the enemy was a prepared opponent, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to win by surprise. After all, Lin Yi's chi bombs were slow to compress, and they were troublesome to release. He had to aim at the enemy, and if the enemy dodged, then all his efforts would be wasted. It could be said that Lin Yi's previous chi bombs were all used by surprise, when the enemy wasn't prepared. Shueishing, on the other hand, was different. Judging from Lin Yi's previous failures, Shueishing was a careful man. This was a bit like Boss Yu, and so when Lin Yi used his chi bombs he had to use some tricks. If Shueixing dodged it, then it'd be troublesome. Shueixing and Lin Yi were both Earth class early phase, and Shueixing was a bit stronger. Lin Yi didn't have much confidence in fighting him head-on, so he had to use some tricks. Self-created Earth class technique, oscillating fist. Lin Yi said as he put his hands together, slowly pushing them towards Shueixing. Of course, Lin Yi didn't actually use the energy bomb this time, because the time was too short, and Lin Yi hadn't finished compressing it yet. Lin Yi also wanted to see if Shueixing was really going to stand there and take the attack, or if he was just saying it. The results proved that Shueixing really didn't dodge this time. He stood where he was, looking at Lin Yi mockingly. Self-created technique? Who do you think you are? You're an ancient heavenly class? He could even create his own martial skills? Aren't you embarrassed to say that? Don't tell me you just created it on a whim, and then failed again because you're not familiar with it? I didn't create it today, I did it a few days ago. Lin Yi replied honestly. I did fail, but you said it's because I'm not familiar with it yet. I'll just try again. Shueixing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Don't tell me you're trying to stall for time? You want to try again? Are you waiting for the effect of the pill to wear off before you attack me? No. Lin Yi shook his head. I don't care if you are or not, I'm not afraid to tell you that the effect of my pill needs a month to wear off. If you have the guts, then stay here and use your technique for a month. Let's see if you can do it. Shueixing smiled coldly as if he'd seen through Lin Yi's thoughts. I really don't. Lin Yi shook his head, and with the same hand gesture, he sent out the energy bomb he'd just condensed. Earth-class technique, oscillating fist. Shueixing curled his lips, about to say something to mock Lin Yi, but the next moment he felt a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas striking his chest. Chapter 17:10. Shueixing was startled and tried to dodge, but it was too late. Lin Yi's chi bomb hit his chest with a loud boom. Shueixing felt as if his chest had been hit by a landmine, and the huge force was pushing him away. Shueixing wanted to stay where he was after exchanging punches with Lin Yi. How embarrassing would that be if he were to fly away? But Shueixing's thinking was too simple. It wasn't as simple as losing face anymore. The explosion sent Shueixing flying away in an instant, and since he'd been standing where he was trying to take the blast head-on, he was in an even worse state now. The explosion was even more severe than before. If he'd flown away with the initial blast, he'd only be injured at most, since Lin Yi's bomb didn't have a lot of chi in it. Lin Yi had only condensed a mid-sized bomb, and it would only be able to lightly injure Shueixing. Lin Yi could then take advantage of the situation and take advantage of the situation. But because of Shueixing's resistance, he became the center of the explosion, and the huge force blew a hole in his chest. His sternum was blown to smithereens, and his organs were all a mess, turning into a pile of bloody meat. Shueixing didn't even have time to scream before he fell to the ground, killed by Lin Yi's bomb. There was a huge hole in his chest and blood was still flowing out. It was a frightening sight. Holy Church, this dramatic turn of events caused everyone present to be dumbfounded. They'd gone from having high hopes for Lin Yi at first, to not having high hopes for Lin Yi later on, and now Shueixing's tragic death. It had all happened so quickly that they weren't used to it. Of course these people were shocked, but Lin Yi was even more shocked. How did Shueixing die just like that? His true chi bomb had clearly blown him away at most. At most, it would have injured him slightly, but it would not have killed him. As long as Shueixing was injured, as long as Lin Yi dealt with him properly, he'd have a chance of killing Shueixing. But Shueixing didn't dodge, he just stood there, gritting his teeth and got himself killed? He's dead. Lin Yi walked over and looked at Shueixing on the ground. He couldn't be more dead. There was a huge hole in Shueixing's chest, and his heart had been smashed to smithereens. It would be a miracle if he could survive like that. Lin Yi's words brought silence to the arena. No one dared to criticize Lin Yi right now. Even if Lin Yi's question was a little funny, no one thought it was funny. Shueixing had been killed by Lin Yi, and that was a fact. Who would dare piss Lin Yi off at a time like this? Jianghu had been paying attention to Lin Yi ever since he entered the arena, and it was only now that Lin Yi had killed Lin Yi that he let out a long sigh, knowing that his loss wasn't unjust. Lin Yi was an Earth-class early phase, and dealing with the fake Lin Yi was a piece of cake. Plus, he'd underestimated this opponent too much. At first, Jianghu thought that Lin Yi was just a random bodyguard. From his perspective, Lin Yi wasn't on the same level as the noble houses, and he only needed a few tricks to deal with him. But today, after seeing Lin Yi's power, Jianghu understood that if he wanted to deal with Lin Yi in the future, simple tricks wouldn't be enough. He'd need something even stronger. It's all over. Lin Yi sighed. It was a little regretful that he didn't manage to get the pangolin's whereabouts. But Lin Yi understood that even if Shuisheng hadn't died, he wouldn't have remembered about the pangolin. In his eyes, the pangolin was just a small character. Why would he pay attention to something like that? So with Shuisheng's death, Lin Yi could see it as revenge for the pangolin. Lin Yi walked quickly to the meeting table and sat on the main seat that Shuisheng had been sitting on. He looked around at the heads of the houses. These people were getting goosebumps from Lin Yi's stare. They all lowered their heads, not daring to meet Lin Yi's eyes. Only Elder Lu Jianhu nodded at Lin Yi in a friendly manner. The atmosphere in the meeting room became a little strange. Everyone was here to participate in the noble house meeting, but now that House Yu was dead, there was no point in holding the meeting anymore. However, no one dared to stand up and leave. Who knew if Lin Yi would suddenly attack them? He even dared to kill Shuisheng. What was there left to do? 4 big houses, 5 small houses, only 8 left now. Lin Yi looked at the people at the table, his eyes finally landing on Dr. Kang's face. Dr. Kang had long since lost his composure. He felt like he was sitting on a bed of needles. He and Lin Yi could be considered old enemies. He'd started a feud with Lin Yi during the birthday banquet, and he didn't doubt that Lin Yi would kill him on the spot. Dr. Kang, why are you still sitting here? Scram. Lin Yi said faintly as he looked at Dr. Kang. I'll leave now. Dr. Kang stood up as if he'd just been pardoned. He brought Kang Guifeng with him ready to leave. He didn't even think about leveling up to a noble house anymore. Being able to keep his life was already a blessing. Wait, take your Xiao family with you. You can all scram. Lin Yi pointed at the 2 Xiao family brothers. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were Lin Yi's old enemies, but even the hidden house Pai didn't dare cause trouble for Lin Yi. What right did they have to question Lin Yi's words? The 2 of them looked at each other and stood up dejectedly. Jiangwen, I don't need to call names, right? Lin Yi looked at Jiangwen and in Mingyue's direction. Lin Yi, we've always had a pretty good relationship. Did you forget that you were the one who gave me ideas to pursue Mengyao? Jiangwen asked, putting on a fake smile. From today onwards, the 4 big houses and 5 small houses will become history. Lin Yi didn't answer Jiangwen's question. The old noble house structure no longer exists. I need to reorganize it, but Jiangwen, I don't want to bring you along. It's fine. Housen isn't good at practicing. When we were a noble house, we were just there to make up the numbers. Since Lin Yi says so, then we'll leave. Jiangwen understood that a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. He stood up and prepared to leave. To be honest, Jiangwen didn't really care about being a noble house. What Housen was doing was helping the fire wolves, so it didn't matter if they were a noble house or not. Chapter 17:11. House Kang Xiao family and In family left the meeting room. Other than the dead House Yu, only House Qin, House Song, House Lu, House Wu, House Yang, and House Sun were left. Chapter 17:13. From today onwards, the title of noble house is gone. Does anyone have any objections? Lin Yi looked at the heads of the noble houses. No. Lu Jianhu was the first to agree. He knew that the title of noble house was useless now. What happened today would soon spread out, and the leader and judge of noble houses, House Yu, would become a joke in history. These noble houses were all chosen by House Yu, and now that House Yu was gone, what noble house was left? The houses that were close to Lin Yi, even without the title of noble house, were still powerful. On the other hand, the houses that were enemies with Lin Yi, like the 3 that just left, were destined to lose their former glory, even if they still had the title of noble house. Of course not, the era of House Yu is over, and us old guys should step down. House Wu will be in charge of Qintian from now on, and I'm going to focus on my training. Wu Gonggao was a sly old fox, and he knew that his grandson recognized Lin Yi as his boss. It didn't matter if House Wu was still a noble house or not, they wouldn't be at a disadvantage. And so Wu Gonggao agreed with Lin Yi. Saint, I'm fine with it too. Qin Kuanglan followed. House Chen will be in Yu Tian's hands. I heard that you and Huaijuan used to be teammates? Of course the Yang family agrees. Yang Daocha also expressed his opinion. You're Shanshan's boyfriend, right? Then we're a family, of course. I'll leave Shanshan in your care from now on, and we, House Song, hope that you can help us as well. Song Xiangwen was even more sly, guessing the relationship between the 2 from the moment Lin Yi and Lingshan entered the meeting room together. That can't be right? Old Song, he is obviously my Jingyi's boyfriend. How did he become your Shanshan's boyfriend? Old Master Sun heard Song Xiangwen's words and immediately became unhappy. Previously, he was very dissatisfied with Sun Jingyi's private boyfriend. Although he heard that Sun Jingyi's boyfriend was a wandering cultivator and a mystic stage master, he only agreed to let Sun Jingyi bring Lin Yi to meet him when Lin Yi agreed to marry into her family. But now old man Sun had met Lin Yi, and it was under such circumstances. As for the so-called son-in-law, old man Sun didn't want to mention it. Now even a fool could see how popular Lin Yi was and how useful he was to these families. Now all the noble houses were showing their goodwill to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi had already become the core existence that replaced House Yu, so elder Sun didn't want to be outdone. Before, he wanted son Jingyi to see if there were any young men in the noble house meeting. Wasn't this Lin Yi a young man? The young man was right in front of them. How is that possible? Shanshan, tell me, is your boyfriend this Master Lin Yi? Xiangwen asked Lingshan. Jingyi, isn't he the boyfriend you were talking about? Elder Sun didn't back down. Lingshan and son Jingyi on the other hand were blushing. Neither of them were Lin Yi's girlfriends. Lingshan was pursuing Lin Yi and son Jingyi was pretending. How were they supposed to answer this? I'm Shield Bro's small wife. Plus, Shield Bro has 3 wives, 2 big wives and 2 small wives. What are you two fighting for? What are you two fighting for? They're just queuing up. Yushu said. Both Song Xiangwen and Old Man Sun were stunned. They didn't know why Lin Yi called him Shield Bro, but the person Yushu was talking about was most likely Lin Yi. And Lin Yi already had 4 wives? His granddaughter had to queue up? Xiangwen frowned at the thought. How could House Song's granddaughter be someone else's small wife? She had to queue up? Elder Sun on the other hand had the same thought. He looked at Jingyi suspiciously. Man, it's good to have a granddaughter of this age. I want to marry my granddaughter to Lin Yi, but there's none. Wu Qintian sighed. His words were like a wake-up call. Song Xiangwen and Old Master Sun immediately came back to their senses. Yes, Lin Yi was an earth class. He was on the same level as the masters of the hidden houses. Marrying his granddaughter to him wasn't a bad thing. And now, it seemed like Lin Yi had replaced House Yu as the strongest force among the noble houses. Although he was only one person, he wasn't alone. He had a few followers and they were all heirs of the noble houses. Fine, I'll queue up first. Xiangwen said quickly, afraid that he wouldn't even have the chance to queue up. Why do you have to queue up first? House Sun isn't that bad either. Elder Sun wasn't happy. Alright. You two old masters, stop fighting. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Was he the hot commodity now? But Lin Yi didn't come here to find a wife. He wanted to build up his own force. And so Lin Yi waved his hand to stop the two. Shanshan, Jingyi and I are good friends. As for relationships, let's just let it be. Let's not talk about it for now. What I want to say today is that the noble houses are cancelled, but I'm preparing to set up a practitioners association. I want to invite all the noble houses to participate. What do you all think? I've already said that Qintian will be in charge of House Wu from now onwards. I won't participate. Gong Gao said immediately. No matter what Lin Yi suggested, he would agree. Gong Gao wasn't an idiot. Qintian went from a golden class to a mystic late-phase peak spiritual practitioner. He wouldn't believe it if he said that it wasn't because of Lin Yi. And so, House Wu naturally agreed with Lin Yi's decision. Behind Gong Gao, Wu Qingdi on the other hand, had a look of disappointment in his eyes. Ever since Qintian revealed his mystic late-phase peak strength, he had been disappointed again and again. The gap between him and Qintian was too big. He would never be able to catch up to Qintian. But he didn't want to accept it. Why was Qintian so lucky? How did he get to meet such a good boss like Lin Yi? How did he get his strength? Why did all the good things belong to Qintian? Ever since he was young, whether it was in House Wu or outside, it was the same. Chapter 17:12. And so, Qindi was deeply dissatisfied, but he knew where he stood. He could only lower his head and keep quiet. Holy Halchindi didn't understand why Qintian was so lucky, and why was fate so unfair. He wanted to turn things around, but under the current circumstances, he could only swallow his anger and pretend to be happy with a fake smile on his face. House Qin naturally has nothing to say. Yu Qin has grown up and will let him make the decisions. Qin Kuanglan was very happy today. This sudden change made him realize that his grandson had not only grown up, but most importantly, he had met a benefactor. He could finally relax. House Song's boy hasn't grown up yet, but Shanshan can still make the decisions for now. Song Xiangwen expressed his support as well. Even an idiot could tell that Lin Yi's Cultivators Association was similar to the noble houses of old, just with a different name. As long as one was a member of the association, they would still be like a noble house in the future, and with Lin Yi's protection, it would be even more glorious than before, and the number of practitioners and strength would increase. We don't have any objections, we don't have practitioners, but if Miracle Dr. Lin doesn't mind, we're willing to join as well. Jianghu smiled. Miracle Dr. Lin has a good relationship with my boss, Lu Tianyi. I'm sure there won't be any problems in communicating with him. House Yang has no objections. We'll let Yang Huaijuan make the decisions in the future. It's time for me to retire, Yang Daocha said. Now only House Sun was left. Although the old man of House Sun was in favor of the idea, when the families expressed their stance, they sent a person who could maintain their relationship with Lin Yi. In other words, it was the spokesperson of the family in the Practitioners' Association. In fact, it was equivalent to the existence of the head of the family. However, elder Sun couldn't decide who to let take on this role. Although Sun Jingyi's surname was Sun, she didn't have the same surname. She was different from Song Lingshan. The male heir of House Song was too young to take on the role, so he let Song Lingshan take the role temporarily. However, the two males of the Sun family weren't young anymore. If Sun Jingyi were to play this role, there would be no reason to replace her in the future. This put old Master Sun in a difficult position. For a moment he couldn't make a decision. He looked up at Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi had roughly guessed her grandfather's difficulties, but she didn't care about it. She didn't want to control the Sun family. So he smiled and said, "Ikai, haven't you met Lin Yi and got along well with him? In the future you will be responsible for contacting the Sun family. There are too many things in my company. I don't have time. Sanctuary." Okay. Sun Ikai was overjoyed. He didn't think that Sun Jingyi would speak up for him. In fact, with his position in House Sun, it was quite awkward. There was a big brother above him and he was a straightforward person. He wasn't suitable to be the head of the house. However, with one sentence from Sun Jingyi the awkwardness was solved. "Sun Ikai, this is the third time we meet, right?" Lin Yi smiled. "Yes, what should I call you in the future? Brother-in-law?" Sun Ikai smiled. It was funny when he thought about it. When he first met Lin Yi, he said that he would protect Lin Yi and make Lin Yi look for him if there was any trouble. But in the blink of an eye, Lin Yi had replaced House Yu and became the #1 practitioner in the common world. "Just call me Lin Yi." Lin Yi said lightly, "Your sister is a smart person. I'm just her shield. When there's trouble she looks for me. When there's nothing she doesn't look for me. It seems like I'm fated to be a shield bro." Lin Yi's words made the atmosphere lighten up. Everyone finally understood why Yushu called Lin Yi shield bro. So this was what she meant. Then, "I'll call you boss like Qintian and the others." Sun Ikai decided to be the same as everyone else. Since Qintian and Yutian were calling him that, then he should be calling him that. Ah. Lin Yi smiled. "Actually, the reason why I set up this guild is simple. It's to unite everyone and I'll help someone in your family level up quickly. I believe you've all seen the changes in Qintian, Yutian and Lingshan's strength, but each family only has one spot. We'll consider adding more in the future." Lin Yi could only help his confidants level up. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't use the art of dragon mastery on anyone else. It was a matter of loyalty and if word got out, it'd be bad for his own safety. Everyone suspected that Lin Yi had something to do with Qintian, Yutian and Lingshan's sudden increase in strength, but hearing it from Lin Yi's own mouth was still shocking and regretful. Each family only had one spot. This meant that only Qintian, Qin Yutian, Lingshan, Huaijuan, and Sun Jingyi could receive Lin Yi's help. As for House Lu, they didn't have any practitioners yet, so they didn't think too much about it. The one who felt the most regretful was Sun Ikai. He knew that Lin Yi would definitely give the spot to Sun Jingyi. Out of all the representatives, only his situation was special. But it didn't matter. Lin Yi said that he could add more spots in the future. This meant that he still had a chance. Looking at the excited faces, Lin Yi continued, "Actually, I'm sure you all know who I am. I'm a doctor, but my other identity is a refiner. This is also why I can help people level up so quickly. But my energy and level are limited, I can't do it all the time." Lin Yi attributed his art of dragon mastery to the fact that he was an elixir refiner. His identity as an elixir refiner had already been exposed once when he was hiding in House Tang, so it wasn't a big deal. After all, elixir refiners were rare, but it wasn't a big deal. But if Lin Yi said that he could transfer pure qi to others, it'd be a big deal if word got out. Lin Yi was afraid of being captured and used as a lab rat. But a refiner was different. There was no point in capturing one because any practitioner with a brain would know that not everyone could become a refiner. There was no point in capturing one. Moreover, there was an unwritten rule in the Jianghu. An alchemist's status was a notch above others. No family or sect would kidnap an alchemist and force him to refine pills for them. This was equivalent to breaking the rules of the Jianghu. Chapter 17:13. Since you can take it, then fine. My sect is stronger than yours, so I'll take the refiner from your hands. It'll be a mess. Plus, refiners didn't usually work alone, but as a group. There were almost no rogue cultivators who became alchemists. Almost every alchemist had a master or sect, and their masters or sects all had powerful connections. This was also the reason why no one dared to force alchemists to become alchemists. Holy Church, and so Lin Yi made up the identity of a refiner so that his opponents wouldn't notice him. Refiner. After Lin Yi announced his identity, everyone present was in an uproar. Although alchemists were famous in the ancient times, and almost every sect had dealings with alchemists, the noble houses and hidden houses, especially the normal noble houses, had never seen an alchemist in their entire lives. They were existences of legends, and now one was sitting in front of them. Qintian, Yutian, and Lingshan didn't react much, since they already knew about Lin Yi's plan. The others, however, were different, especially Sun Jingyi. She realized that she didn't understand Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi was an elixir refiner? Wasn't this too shocking? Had he been in all kinds of industries before? House Lu, on the other hand, was enlightened. Lu Tianyi sighed. No wonder Miracle Dr. Lin's medical skills are so amazing, to be able to create such a shocking pill like the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. So he's a refiner. House Lu knew that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was made by Lin Yi, but the other noble houses didn't. Now that they heard that the pill that had caused such a commotion at the auction was made by Lin Yi, realization dawned on them. As expected, Xuemin didn't have that kind of skill. They hadn't seen him produce any special pills in the past few years, and he'd always been suppressed by Dr. Kang's name. It was only recently that he'd suddenly become famous, and it was all because of Lin Yi. Alright, if there's nothing else, you may leave. I'll contact the people in charge of the other houses. Lin Yi didn't really care about the crowd's shock. His main goal here was to destroy House Yu, and secondly, to gather the strength of the other noble houses. At this point, Lin Yi had no more obstacles on the level of noble houses. He could calm down and think about the hidden House Yu and House Zhao's matters. The meeting of the noble houses ended abruptly on the first day. It felt a little anticlimactic, but the hearts of the people who came were heavy and happy at the same time. The power structure of the noble houses was about to change. House Xiao, House An, and House Kong were kicked out of the alliance by Lin Yi, and they wouldn't let it go easily. St. Hall, but no matter what, this wasn't something they had to worry about. They had to think about the benefits of their own houses. Now that House Yu had been replaced by Lin Yi, they didn't lose anything at all. Instead, they gained even more benefits. Especially if they could make friends with Lin Yi, an Earth-class early-phase alchemist. This was a good thing no matter what. In a hotel not far from House Yu's auction, the two brothers from family Xiao and House Kang's Dr. Kong, as well as Kong Guifeng, sat there. Although the two houses had some conflicts and disagreements before, they were all in the same predicament now. They sat together, ready to discuss their future plans. Originally, they wanted to rope in House An, but Mingyue and Jiang Wen clearly had no interest in participating in their business. It was as if the title of a noble house wasn't important to House An. In fact, this was also the case. These aristocratic families wanted the title of an aristocratic family so that they could get the attention of other aristocratic families when doing business. However, the An family's business was the kind that couldn't be seen in the light. Having the title of an aristocratic family made them a little more fearful. So without the title of a noble house, they didn't really care. House Xiao and House Kong, on the other hand, were different. House Kong desperately wanted to enter the ranks of the noble houses because they were an alliance led by House Yu. They helped each other, and only then would they be able to do well in each other's territory. Now that family Xiao was kicked out of the noble house circle, they couldn't count on the other noble houses to take care of them anymore. Although they had the support of the hidden House Pai, those who had the support of Lin Yi wouldn't give the Xiao family any face. It would be hard for them to develop in the future. And so, Xiao Ben pulled Xiao Ji along with him and started to sit with Dr. Kong and Kong Guifeng, the two slightly unhappy people. Lin Yi, even the hidden House Pai can't do anything to him? Looking at Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben, Dr. Kong asked helplessly. He knew a thing or two about what happened between Lin Yi and the Xiao family. He knew that 3 people from House Pai died, but they didn't do anything to Lin Yi. He didn't understand. This Lin Yi might have a big background behind him. The hidden House Pai warned us not to mess with Lin Yi, but now it's a situation where we have no choice but to mess with him. Xiao Ji humphed. After being forced by him, our Xiao family's business, which had just started to get better, is going to be finished. We can only retreat back to Songshan, and this is Lin Yi's base. Yeah, you guys are making money for the hidden House Pai. Now that something like this happened, they can't just ignore you, right? Kong Guifeng asked. Alright, let's not talk about this for now. Xiao Ben was a smart man. He waved his hand and didn't answer Kang Guifeng's question. He knew that Kang Guifeng wanted him to go get revenge on House Pai, but House Pai had already expressed their stance on this. Although it affected House Pai's profits, Xiao Ben still didn't have the confidence to make House Pai help. He wanted to test House Kang's trump card. I say, House Kang, this time you want to become a noble house, so you've prepared well, right? What's your bargaining chip to become a noble house? You don't need to be so guarded against me. I want House Pai to help, but this reason isn't enough. Something that doesn't benefit them is something that a hidden noble house wouldn't do easily. You understand? Alright, if that's the case, then I'll tell you the truth, Dr. Kang said. Do you remember the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing? Of course I remember. What's wrong? Xiao Ben asked calmly. House Kang is currently researching the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. If we can get rid of the obstacle that is Lin Yi, we can work together. I believe that with the recipe in our hands, even the hidden noble houses will respect us, Dr. Kang said. Chapter 17:14. Oh, so you've developed it already? Xiao Ben asked, surprised. Not quite there yet. Dr. Kang shook his head. But you can tell the hidden House Pai that I'll give them priority once we've developed it, as long as they support us. That's good. I'll ask the hidden House Pai for their opinion. Xiao Ben sighed. But I can't promise anything. All right. We've had some misunderstandings in the past, but now we should let bygones be bygones and work together. That's the only way we can fight against Lin Yi's alliance. Kang Guifeng said. That marriage between our two families. I think we can continue with it. Kang Guifeng was thinking further. If Xiaolong were to marry Xinyan, that would solidify his position in House Kang, since House Kang and Xiao family's interests were intertwined. It was undeniable that a marriage was a huge bargaining chip. That's something I can consider, but we'll talk about it after we get through this. Xiao Ben didn't decline. It was just a marriage between a niece with a different surname and House Kang after all. He couldn't be too calculative with House Kang right now. Moreover, if the Kang family really managed to develop the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, then their status would skyrocket. The effects of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing were practically on par with the legendary bone cleansing and marrow cleansing pill. In actuality, the bone cleansing and marrow cleansing pill was called the Greater Foundation Establishment Pill, and the Lesser Foundation Establishment Pill. The pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, on the other hand, seemed to be even more effective than the Foundation Establishment Pill. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been sold at such a high price in the auction. The Foundation Establishment Pill could only refine one's body, and it couldn't extend one's lifespan. The pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, on the other hand, could do the trick. Heart, alright, the bigger picture is more important. Dr. Kang nodded. Our House Kang will be waiting for your good news. At the same time, something big happened in Songshan. Sihua brought his men to the orphanage and reported the matter to Zhao Qibing after the discussion with the headmaster broke down. Qibing wasn't feeling too good right now. He'd lost a couple $100 million to Blood Cloak Yellow Springs sect for no reason. He couldn't afford to offend them, but a small orphanage wasn't something he would put in his eyes. Sihua, take Boss Zhu with you and burn that orphanage down. Damn it, I'm giving them face but they don't want it. This time I'll make them lose everything. Zhao Qibing slammed the table angrily. He really felt suffocated. Ever since he came to Songshan, other than getting a qi gathering pill for House Zhao, he had accomplished nothing else. Holy Church becoming the head of the hidden House Zhao wasn't something that could be achieved with just one qi gathering pill. One had to have other abilities, and so Qibing had been earning money non-stop. Yes. Sihua nodded. Then I'll bring some men to prepare. Do it cleanly, don't leave any evidence behind. Qibing said. Remember, burn it cleanly, burn all the houses in the orphanage. If they can still live after the fire is extinguished, it'll be hard to do it again. Don't worry, Master Bing. I'm good at this. Sihua patted his chest and promised. How about this, you get ready, I'll light the fire myself. Qibing had a fire in his heart that he hadn't vented yet, and he wanted to light the fire himself to vent it. No problem, I've prepared everything. Master Bing, you just need to light the fire. Sihua said. And so, on a dark and windy night, Qibing brought Sihua and Boss Zhu to the orphanage. There was a large amount of gasoline in the back of Sihua's pickup truck, prepared to burn the orphanage down. Very well, this is a good day. The weather is dry, the moon is dark, and the wind is strong. It's a good day to set a fire. Qibing said. Boss Zhu, go pour the gasoline, pour as much as you can. The bigger the fire, the better. No problem. Boss Zhu got out of the car and jumped into the orphanage with a huge barrel of gasoline. Boss Zhu was an Earth-class master, and the orphanage's director and Xiaoka naturally wouldn't be able to sense his presence. So, Boss Zhu went back and forth a few times, pouring all the gasoline into the orphanage and the surrounding fences. "Everything's ready, Master Bing, you can light the fire now," Boss Zhu said. "Well done." Qibing got out of the car with a torch in his hand, and with a whoosh he threw it into the orphanage's yard. He then took a few more torches from Zihua and threw them all into the orphanage. The inside of the orphanage was instantly set ablaze. "Ah, I'm leaving after I'm done." Qibing clapped his hands and said happily. Setting the orphanage on fire today made him feel a lot better. Before he was bullied by Lin Yi's follower Wu Qintian, and he couldn't take revenge. Although his broken leg was healed by Elder Bai, the incident with Blood Cloak and Yellow Spring Sect made him want to die. Today, with the release of the fire, the depression in his chest had finally dissipated by more than half. Qibing and Boss Zhu got in the car and Zihua stepped on the gas and the truck disappeared into the night and the fire. "Such a big fire, the orphanage will be destroyed tomorrow for sure," Zihua said as he looked in the rearview mirror. "This is too good. No wonder there are so many stress-relieving amusement parks, people go and destroy them, it's so fun," Qibing said excitedly. "I really want to burn another house." "Ha, when the head of the house comes out, we'll go burn Lin Yi's villa," Zihua said. "We'll get even with him then." "Fuck, no wonder Lin Yi likes to tear down my skyscraper, it's so fun," Qibing said regretfully. "I can't tear down a skyscraper, it'd be fun too." Qibing and the others returned to the floating cloud bar and quickly fell asleep in excitement. The orphanage, on the other hand, was extremely busy. The first one to notice something was wrong was Xiaoka. She was depressed, but she had been sleeping late these past few days. She was sure that she was lovesick, and the image of the male thief kept appearing in her mind, causing her to have insomnia. In the middle of the night, she dreamt of the male thief, and when she woke up, she saw the fire outside her window. She jumped in fright and rushed out of her house, only to find that the yard and the roof were on fire. Chapter 17:16, The building is burned too? Xiaoka couldn't care less about the things in her room anymore. She quickly went to wake the dean up. "Oh no, there's a fire." School Beauty's Bodyguard Chapter 17:16. The dean was a light sleeper and was woken up by Xiaoka's voice. She was shocked when she saw the situation outside. "Quick, go save the children." And so, Xiaoka and the dean quickly rushed into the children's dormitory. Fortunately, both of them were descendants of the Fian sect. Although they were in a sea of fire, they could always find a place to stay. The two of them risked their lives to rescue the children in the orphanage. Behind them, the orphanage was already a vast sea of fire. The wind was strong today and the air was dry, so the fire was out of control. From the orphanage, it was already spreading to other areas. After saving the children, Xiaoka finally reacted. "Yes, let's call the fire department, the orphanage is going to burn." In the rush, the dean didn't bring her phone, and the orphanage was right next to the construction site of the slums. On the other side was the business district, but the shops were all closed at night, and it was hard to find a single person. The dean looked around for a long time before finding a public phone booth to call the fire department, but by then the fire had already spread to the construction site of the slums next to the orphanage. By the time the piercing sound of the fire engine sounded, the fire was already out of control. Although a number of fire trucks came to support, due to the strong wind and the large fire, there were a lot of flammable items piled up on the construction site of the shanty town, such as wooden cubes and the like. As a result, the fire grew bigger and bigger. It was not until dawn that the fire was extinguished. Qibing, Zihua and Boss Zhu, on the other hand, had a good night's sleep. When they woke up the next morning, Qibing couldn't wait to get Zihua to turn on the TV. "Quick, look at the orphanage is probably in ruins now." "Haha, that's for sure." Zihua nodded and turned on the TV. The three of them sat on the sofa, ready to watch the destruction of the orphanage. Around 1 in the morning, a huge fire broke out in the orphanage near the old slums. When the firefighters arrived, the fire was already out of control, and it started to spread to the construction site nearby. After the firefighters' hard work, they finally extinguished the fire at 7 this morning. But the orphanage, as well as the newly built Qibing skyscraper, were all burnt to ashes. Following the news, there was a scene of the orphanage and Qibing skyscraper being burnt down. Gah! Qibing heard the news and jumped up with a whoosh. He looked at the news in disbelief. "Impossible. How is this possible? My skyscraper." Zihua and Boss Zhu had a bitter look on their faces as well. They didn't think that burning the orphanage would burn down the Qibing skyscraper next to it, And the most important thing was that the newly built skyscraper hadn't even been used for a day. Who can tell me what's going on? Qibing kicked the TV angrily, shattering the LCD TV. It fell to the ground, creating sparks. But Qibing didn't care. How much was a TV? What he cared about now was the Qibing skyscraper. This skyscraper had been destroyed twice since it was built. The first 2 times were caused by Lin Yi, but the third time he burned it down with his own hands. Master Bing, we didn't know that it would affect the Qibing skyscraper next to it. Sihua was troubled as well. I just followed your instructions and found a weather that would be easy to set fire to. Master Bing, I'm just following your orders, pouring the gasoline. Boss Zhu said with a bitter face. Neither he nor Sihua were experts in this field, nor did they have any experience. How was Sihua supposed to calculate the intensity of the fire? Boss Zhu, on the other hand, couldn't have predicted that the intensity of the fire would affect the Qibing skyscraper. It's not your fault. Qibing waved his hand helplessly and sat on the ground. He should have given more money to the orphanage or built a new one somewhere else if he knew this would happen. But it was too late for regrets now. Although Qibing's goal was achieved, the price he paid was too high. Sihua was hoping to earn more money from this project to pay back Blood Cloak Underworld, but it seemed like it was all for naught now. Sihua had a bitter look on his face all day long. But compared to Sihua and Qibing, the orphanage was the most difficult. The orphanage was gone, and the dean had no choice but to bring the children to a cheaper duplex loft. Hundreds of children were squeezed into a 300 square meter room, and it wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was a squeeze. Xiaoke had gotten a lot of money for the orphanage a while ago, but it wasn't enough to rebuild the orphanage. After all, they couldn't rebuild the orphanage with the old bungalows, could they? They had to make it more presentable. Xiaoke's money was reserved for the orphanage's daily expenses. If she took it out from the bank and used it to rebuild the orphanage, it wouldn't be enough. What would they do after the money was used up? The treasures Xiaoke brought out were only worth around 5 million. 5 million was fine if it was just for the simple construction, but it wouldn't even be enough to buy the necessary equipment if they had to build the facilities. This fire must have been set by someone from Zhao Qibing's company, but they didn't set it up properly and burned their own company nearby. Ken said angrily. They deserve it, they deserve it. I'm guessing that Sihua will come to us again to discuss the swap, and this time, we'll have to do it even if we don't want to. The dean sighed helplessly. We really can't afford to offend the hidden house Zhao. If it were back then. What the dean wanted to say was that if it were back then, she wouldn't even care about a small hidden house. But now the hidden Zhao family was a colossus to her. But Xiaoke only knew a limited amount about what happened back then, and the dean didn't want to talk too much about it. She didn't want her enemies to come and ruin their peaceful life. Chapter 17:15. No. The dean and Ken interrupted Xiaoke's thoughts at the same time. You already escaped death last time, aren't you just looking to die if you go again? Then what should we do? We can't have a bunch of people here, can we? They sleep together every night, it's hard to even turn around. Xiaoke said worriedly as she looked at the horrible environment. It's so hot, I'm afraid the kids might get heat rash. Xiaoke sis, maybe you should go look for Lin Yi bro again? Ken hinted, didn't he bring a bunch of donations to the orphanage last time? That was already the limit. Most people have already donated money. How can we make things difficult for them again? Xiaoke shook her head. Plus, my relationship with Lin Yi isn't that good, he seems to look down on me. I don't want to trouble him. Look down on him? I don't think so. Ken thought. Look down on you and still go save you? How was that possible? This was a bit troublesome. He'd promised Lin Yi, but he couldn't tell Xiaoke, he could only hint at her and she wouldn't understand. Xiaoke's right, we can't always trouble other people, we need to think of a way ourselves. Amos nodded and said, he helped us once before. How can we trouble him again? Oh. Ken nodded, thinking that he should find a chance to call Lin Yi and ask him if he had any ideas. It seemed like Xiaoke sis was going to marry him in the future, so it was only right for him to do something for the orphanage now. Otherwise, how could he bring home the goddess of the orphanage? Now, the ones with the biggest headache were Qibing and Sihua. They didn't have the mood to negotiate with the orphanage anymore. It was the same as looting a burning house and giving the police something to use against them. Of course, this wasn't the main thing. The main thing was that Qibing's new building was burnt down, and he couldn't help but curse his bad luck. Ever since he started his business, he hadn't done anything successful. His real estate business had been failing from the start. Luckily, Elder Bai didn't care much about external things, and Sihua took all the responsibility, so Elder Bai didn't blame Qibing. After all, as far as he was concerned, Qibing was focused on practicing now, leaving the company to his underlings. This was his underlings doing out of goodwill, but it had nothing to do with Qibing. After the noble house meeting, Lin Yi and Yushu returned to Songshan. According to Lin Yi's promise with them, he was going to bring them to Star West Village for a trip in August. Holy Church, Yutian, Lingshan and Qintian on the other hand, went back to their houses. The situation in the noble houses had changed, and they needed to go back and discuss countermeasures. In actuality, as Lin Yi's strength increased, so did his view of the world. In his eyes, those noble houses that were high and mighty were nothing more than this now, so Lin Yi wasn't too enthusiastic about the Cultivators' Union. He was just making a name for it, and in actuality his right and left hands were Qintian, Yutian and Lingshan. As for their families, it was fine as long as they didn't cause trouble for Lin Yi. Lin Yi received a call from Ken on the way back, and only then did he know that the orphanage was on fire, and now it was a pile of ashes. The funny thing was that Qibing's building was burnt down to a skeleton as well, and he had to tear it down and rebuild it. Ken, you're suspecting that the fire has something to do with Zhao Qibing? Lin Yi understood what Ken was trying to say. We all suspect it, but we don't have any evidence, and their building was burnt down as well. That's their excuse. Ken was a little mischievous and he understood the situation very well. Oh, I don't need evidence to do things, so we need to ask them for money. Lin Yi wasn't Lingshan, and he only needed to suspect. Lin Yi thought, was this little bastard Zhao Qibing's leg itching again? Hadn't he broken it enough? It seemed like he had to find a chance to break it again. At the mention of money, Ken said, "Male thief bro, can you support the orphanage with some money? You're a male thief, you must be rich. Or else, Xiaoka sis has to go on a mission again, and you don't want her to take the risk, do you?" Ken was asking Lin Yi for money, but he didn't feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he said it as if it was the right thing to do. From his perspective, Lin Yi wanted to marry Xiaoka, so he should at least give her some money, right? You know about it? Lin Yi was a little surprised at Ken's analysis. It seemed like Xiaoka had told him about what happened that day. I guessed. Ken said, how could there be such a coincidence? I just told you that Xiaoka sis was in trouble, and the male thief went to help her? Ah. Lin Yi smiled helplessly. How was he a male thief? A proper male thief would have died a long time ago, where would he get the money? But he still asked, how much does the orphanage need? I'm not sure. But rebuilding it might need a lot of money. Xiaoka sis and the dean are worried about it. Ken said. All right, I'll think of a way. Lin Yi hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Lin Yi wasn't a nosy person, but with his relationship with Xiaoka, he couldn't just ignore it. Besides, Lin Yi had seen how hard it was for the children in the orphanage. Now that it was on fire, it must be even more difficult. Then I'll wait for your good news. Thank you, male thief bro. Ken heard Lin Yi's agreement and was very happy. And wait for my good news. Lin Yi said. All right, thank you, male thief bro. Ken thanked Lin Yi again. Don't worry, I'll help you keep your identity a secret. Ah, okay. Lin Yi was a little helpless towards Ken. Although his last sentence was almost a threat, meaning that if Lin Yi didn't help, he would tell Xiaoka his identity. But Lin Yi didn't dislike it at all because Ken wasn't doing this for himself. He was doing this for the orphanage just like Xiaoka. Shield bro, what's wrong? Can you talk to Shu about it? Yushu asked when she saw the frown on his face. Zhao Qibing, that idiot, burned down the orphanage and his new building. He's really looking for trouble. I think he needs a beating, so he's looking for trouble. Lin Yi shrugged. That's right, I'm looking for trouble. Lin Yi shrugged. Ah, seriously? Burned again? This guy is really unlucky. Yushu subconsciously stuck out her tongue when she heard that Qibing's building was destroyed again. Was this guy a jinx? Otherwise, ordinary people wouldn't be so unlucky, right? Chapter 17-18. Thank you for your hard work. His bad luck is secondary. The key is that the children in the orphanage don't have a place to stay anymore. They're all living in a 300 square meter attic, and it's so crowded. Lin Yi said. How much does it cost to rebuild an orphanage? Lin Yi said. How much does it cost to rebuild an orphanage? I'm not sure about that, but if it's our land, we'll only have the construction fees left. Shield bro, you can ask Fatty Lai. Wasn't he a professional in construction? Yushu reminded. Okay, I'll ask him, Lin Yi said and called Fatty Lai. Boss? You're back? Fatty Lai was one of those who was well informed. He had heard the news of House Yu's downfall and that House Kang's application to become a noble house had failed. This made him even happier. With this, House Kang had even less of a competitive edge. House Lai's status would rise, and Lai Changyi's name would become more and more famous. After all, he was Lin Yi's follower. Lai Changyi had long expected that he would have such a day, Now, he had an advantage over any noble house because he was one of the first followers of Lin Yi. Not yet, it's on the way. Lin Yi said, there's something I want to ask you. I want to build an orphanage. If we have the land, how much does it cost? Fatty Lai paused. He didn't understand why Lin Yi asked this, but he still answered honestly, building an orphanage depends on the type of building. If it's a larger scale, it'll be comparable to a school. For example, those orphanages in big cities have dormitories, activity rooms, libraries, and so on. Some even have their own kindergartens, elementary schools, and middle schools. If we build all of these together, it'll cost at least 100 million. Of course, if we buy all the necessary facilities, it'll cost at least 200 million. That much? Lin Yi was surprised. Of course, if it's just a normal orphanage providing food and lodging for the orphans, a few million would be enough, Fatty Lai said. The key is what kind of building you want it to be, boss. If we want to build it, we'll do it in one go and build it better. Lin Yi listened to Fatty Lai's price and felt a headache. 200 million? How could it be so much money? But thinking about it, if it was as Fatty Lai said and all the facilities were built, the entire orphanage would be comparable to a small university. It would indeed require a lot of investment. But Lin Yi wasn't willing to just build it the same way it was. Actually, we don't need that much. We can do it step by step and build it slowly. Don't invest in the unnecessary things like the computer center, library, and gymnasium for now. If we just build the dormitory and canteen, a few million will be enough. If we have our own land, we won't even need this money. Fatty Lai said, but the beds, tables, and other facilities will add up to 5 million. Do you have any money left? Lin Yi asked. I can definitely take out a few million. If it's too much, it'll affect the company's operations, Fatty Lai said. Forget it, I'll think of something myself. Lin Yi spent 100 million when he participated in the Ice Palace's trial, and it made Fatty Lai's side a little tight. The medical company was still developing rapidly, and it wouldn't work without money. Boss. I'm really ashamed to let you think of something yourself. Fatty Lai was a little embarrassed. It's okay, I understand your difficulties. Lin Yi was thinking about where he could get 200 million. Although he could borrow from any noble house, it would still make people think that Lin Yi was extorting them. Lin Yi thought about it and thought about the old man. He went on missions a few years ago and earned a lot of money, right? Even if it wasn't a few hundred million, it was at least tens of millions. Lin Yi felt that he should ask the old man for some money. He called the old man's number and old Lin's lazy voice came from the other side. Little E, what's the matter? Is everything done over there? Yes, it's all done. I'm calling to borrow some money from you, Lin Yi said. Borrow money? No, old Lin said straightforwardly. No. Where did the money I earned from the missions I did go? Don't tell me that I only earned tens of yuan from one mission. Lin Yi heard old Lin's words and found it funny and annoying at the same time. I didn't want to argue with you before, but I really have something to do now. Wait, I'll send you something. Old Lin didn't answer Lin Yi's question and said, Oh. Lin Yi wanted to ask something, but old Lin had already hung up. Not long after, Lin Yi received a message on his phone. He opened it and saw a photo of a bunch of receipts. Lin Yi zoomed in and took a closer look. They were receipts for donations and remittances. Seeing this, Lin Yi was silent. It seemed that old Lin had donated all his money to charity all these years. Thinking about how stingy old Lin was at home, Lin Yi felt a little sour in his heart. He used to misunderstand this old man, thinking that he was a stingy person who didn't spend money and even made him work part-time to weave straw sandals for money. But now it seemed that old Lin really didn't enjoy anything at all. As for the money used to raise Lin Yi, it was most likely all from the money he earned from his medical practice in the village. Moreover, his treatment was almost free and he only earned a little from buying medicine. It wasn't easy for him to raise Lin Yi with this kind of income. Lin Yi sighed and quietly called back. Did you receive it? Old Lin asked straightforwardly. Yes, it's been hard on you all these years, Lin Yi said. Haha, it's nothing. Old Lin laughed and said, What do you need money for? It's similar to what you're doing. I have an orphanage here that caught fire. I want to rebuild it and I want to build it into a first-class orphanage, Lin Yi said. So I'm in urgent need of money. I see, old Lin said. Do you still want to carry out missions? This is faster to earn money. If you want, I can help you keep an eye out. Sure. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and agreed. Help me keep an eye out. If there are missions, help me introduce them, but it's best not to go too far. I'll help you take a look. There might not be any. If there is, I'll contact you again, old Lin said. Chapter 17:16. Oh, Shield bro, you're taking on a private job? Isn't your job to protect me and Yao Yao? Yushu asked. Not really, I've already resigned last time. We're just good friends now, Linny smiled. I see. Looks like I can't stop you. Be careful then, Yushu said helplessly. She was actually worried that Linny would be in danger. Last time Linny went to the tomb he almost died. If it weren't for that boss you being a coward, Linny wouldn't have come back so easily. Yushu was really worried that something would happen to Linny. I will, Linny said. Before I came here I always took on missions like this. Linny comforted Yushu like that, but he knew that the missions he took on before weren't that high-leveled, so the money wasn't that much. A mission like this with 100 million reward was probably on a different level. It would be even more dangerous. The hidden house you received the news immediately after the common house you was annihilated. Yu Huixing was going crazy with rage. He didn't think that Linny would be this daring, to actually wipe out the common house you. He stormed over to the hidden house you's head, Yu Shaochen, and said in grief, "Head you, please help us, the common house you, with regards to this matter. I beg you to uphold justice for us. We, the common house you, have been helping the hidden house you earn money, and yet we ended up like this. You must help us, the common house you, get justice." Alright, I got it. Yu Huixing, I'm sorry for your loss. I need to understand the ins and outs of this matter before discussing it with my father. Yu Shaochen comforted Boss Yu, that Lin Yi is an Earth class and we, the hidden house, are restricted by the Noble House Council. Earth classes can't come out as they please, so it's not easy to deal with Lin Yi. But that Lin Yi is an Earth class, isn't he restricted by the Hidden House Council? Yu Huixing felt that it was unfair. St. Hall, he's a freelancer, and in the past, there were no precedents of freelancers reaching Earth class. Mystic was already very powerful, and most of them relied on the hidden houses when they were at Mystic. Lin Yi is a special case. Yu Shaochen said, I'll discuss the specifics with my father first. Yes. Yu Huixing sighed sorrowfully. He didn't think that House Yu would be destroyed so soon after he left. This was like a bolt from the blue. How could he stay calm? He wanted to tear Lin Yi into a million pieces right now, but when he remembered that Lin Yi was also an Earth-class early-phase master, and that he knew martial arts, he backed off. Revenge was important, but staying alive was even more important. Yu Huixing's Lin Huixing's heart, Huixing's Yu's heart, Lin Shaochen Chen Qing. Shaochen was actually quite annoyed as well. There was a saying that went, look at the master before beating the dog. This Lin Yi had challenged the hidden house Yu's bottom line time and time again. First, he'd killed one of the common house Yu's, and now he'd sent the father and son of the common house Yu to heaven. This was intolerable. But while he wanted to kill Lin Yi as soon as possible, he didn't show it on his face. After all, this was a huge matter, and he couldn't just make a decision on his own. He had to consider the hidden house's entire benefit. If they really wanted to deal with Lin Yi and got impeached by the Hidden House Council, then it wouldn't be worth it. And so, Shaochen drove up the mountain to find his father, preparing to discuss with him on how to deal with this. On the mountain, it was still Yu Yi who brought Shaochen to the Elder Yu's training area. Shaochen, you're here? The Elder Yu looked at Shaochen and nodded. Father, Yu Huixing came to me just now. He wants us to help them. Shaochen said. And I know about this, it's all because of that Lin Yi. The Elder Yu nodded and said faintly, but read this letter first. What letter? Shaochen paused. He wasn't surprised that his father knew what was going on outside. Although Shaochen could be said to have complete control over House Yu, the old ancestor still had a lot of confidence in House Yu. These people were Yu Yi's eyes and ears, and the old ancestor's information came from them. Of course, as long as Shaochen didn't do anything wrong to House Yu, these people would naturally listen to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be of much use as the head of the house. This was also why Shaochen always went to the Elder Yu to discuss with him whenever something big happened. But the old Yu suddenly asked him to look at a letter, and this made Shaochen suspicious. He took the letter from the old Yu's hands and started reading it. It's a letter from Yu Bing? Shaochen was surprised. He knew the rules of the Ice Palace, and the new outer disciples didn't have the right to communicate with the house as they pleased, but Yu Bing didn't have this restriction. And it seems like Yu Bing is doing quite well in the Ice Palace. The Elder Yu praised, if it weren't for Ning, Yu Bing would be the best candidate to be the head of House Yu. Father Ning Shi. Shaochen didn't know much about Yu Ning either. He only had a rough idea, and the old ancestor of House Yu would never go into details. This was also why he felt that Yu Bing should be the next head of the house. I can't tell you that, it's related to the big secret of House Yu's rise. The Elder Yu said, the time isn't right yet, so I can't tell you in detail. The big secret of House Yu's rise? Yu Shaochen frowned. Isn't Xiao Ning supposed to accept some kind of inheritance? But what kind of inheritance is it? Is there hope? Isn't it something you saw in the ancient ruins? Is it really effective? Ancient ruins? That's just what I told others, it's not true at all. Elder Yu shook his head. Liu Qin, do you really think that we, the hidden house Yu, only rose up because we found a so-called ancient ruin? Do you really think that I, your father, am talented enough to break through to sky class just by looking at the ruins? Then, Xiaoqun looked at the Elder Yu confused. All you need to know is that we, the hidden house Yu, actually have a backer up there and Ning's matter was their idea. Old ancestor Yu said, that's all I can say, don't spread it out. Chapter 1720, The Whereabouts of the Qi Gathering Pill, I know. Xiaoqun's heart skipped a beat. This was the first time he knew that House Yu had someone backing them. He didn't know this at first, but the Elder Yu's words today had shocked him. No wonder his father had always emphasized the importance of Yu Ning. Even when Yu Bing was outstanding, he still looked at her differently. So Yu Ning was someone that the backer of House Yu had his eyes on. Of course, whether or not Ning can stay in House Yu and become the head of the house, I'm not sure, but Ning can become a sky class, that's for sure. The Elder Yu said, if Ning can't stay in House Yu, then it's not too late to consider Yu Bing's matter. But right now the person behind us hasn't said anything, so we can only put Ning first. I see. Xiaoqun nodded and continued reading the letter in his hands, but halfway through, he frowned. Why are Yu Bing and Lin Yi together? Why is this kid so reckless? So the Ling Yi that Yushan was talking about is that Lin Yi? Xiaoqun frowned and said angrily, he even called Lin Yi his boss? What's going on? Is he trying to defy the heavens? Xiaoqun, your personality is still not mature enough. It's been so many years and you've had to maintain that dignified image in front of outsiders. It's been hard on you. The Elder Yu waved his hand, signaling for Xiaoqun to calm down. Xiaoqun's face reddened. In front of his father, he revealed his true personality, but in front of outsiders he had no choice. He was the head of the house, and if he showed his emotions on his face, then he'd be looked down upon. Without Lin Yi, Yu Bing might not even be able to come back alive. Wasn't the letter very clear? The Elder Yu said with a look of disgust on his face, that Yushan kid is talented, but his intelligence isn't in the right place. He brought this upon himself. This Lin Yi is that strong? He even defeated Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nidian from the ancient sects? Xiaoqun didn't really believe it. Yu Bing didn't lie in this letter? Yu Bing was Xiaoqun's son, but Yushan said the same thing and Yu Bing said the same thing. Yushan might have lied more often, but for the sake of fairness, he couldn't just believe Yu Bing's words. This letter is for Ning, is there a need for Yu Bing to lie? The Elder Yu waved his hand and passed another letter to Xiaoqun. The one you saw before was for Ning, it's just a casual conversation between siblings. There's no need for Yu Bing to lie, but this is the one Yu Bing asked Ning to pass to us. Yu Xiaoqun quickly took the letter from the Elder Yu and started reading it. This letter was a lot more formal than the previous one. Yu Bing first greeted the elders of the house, and then described what happened in the test, but he didn't mention anything about Yushan framing him or Lin Yi. After that, Yu Bing changed the topic, saying that Yu Huixing actually got a Qi gathering pill, but didn't give it to House Yu, but took it for himself. Yu Bing was very sure that the source of this information was very accurate. There was someone in the test who could prove this, but he didn't say who it was. Are you done? The Elder Yu asked. I've read it already. The thing that Yu Bing said. Xiaoqun wasn't surprised that the two letters were in the hands of House Yu's old ancestor. On the surface, House Yu was under his control, but in reality, the old ancestor was in charge of most of the things. It should be true, there's no need for him to lie, and Yu Huixing doesn't have any conflict of interest with him. The Elder Yu said, but it's true that he's friends with Lin Yi, and if we don't go against House Yu because of this, we won't go against Lin Yi. This is probably the reason why Yu Bing brought this up. The Elder Yu's eyes were very sharp. He noticed the secret behind it immediately. I see. Xiaoqun realized he didn't even think about the deeper reason. Then this Lin Yi is a genius, a freelancer, and he became an Earth class early phase in just a few years. This is unbelievable. The Elder Yu said, he had just broken through to Mystic late phase during the test, and now he's an Earth class early phase? This is a rare talent. You're right, father. Xiaoqun didn't think that his father would praise Lin Yi like this, but from what he could see, this Lin Yi wasn't simple at all. He was able to wipe out the common House Yu, and now he was able to beat Yu Shuixing who had taken the pill. This was the same as skipping levels. It's a shame that we don't have the ability to recruit Lin Yi. The Elder Yu sighed. With Ning's relationship, there's no way Lin Yi will be of use to us unless Ning marries him. Why can't I? Xiaoqun paused. Lin Yi is so young and he's already in Earth class. This is rare even in the hidden houses, let alone a freelancer. The inheritor must be a virgin girl, or she won't be able to accept the inheritance. The elder Yu said, this is also why I stopped Ning from dating. These young people, if they act rashly, the consequences will be unimaginable. This is an order from our House Yu's backer. Ning can't be in a relationship. So that's how it is. Xiaochen understood. If Ning can't marry Lin Yi, then we really don't have the ability to recruit Lin Yi. But we don't have to be enemies for now. Elder Yu said, the Grand Elder of the Hidden Houses Arbitration Council hasn't shown himself in a long time, and the others are getting restless and ready to break the rules. But before they break the rules, we House Yu can't be the first bird. The other hidden houses want to break the rules as well? Xiaochen asked. Chapter 17:17. I see. Yu Xiaochen nodded. Yu Bing's letter gives us an excuse not to stand up for House Yu. Naturally. Elder Yu nodded. I'll leave these 2 letters to you. Give one to Ning, tell her to come visit me when she's free. I want to have a good talk with her. You know what to do with the other one, right? Understood. I'll go look for Yu Huixing right now, Xiaochen said. Yu Huixing was overjoyed to hear that Yu Xiaochen was looking for him so quickly, thinking that House Yu was going to help the common House Yu. He quickly came to Yu Xiaochen's room and spoke respectfully. House Yu, may I ask what the elder said? Are you going to avenge our common House Yu? After all, we've been working hard all these years helping the hidden House Yu earn money. We've been handing over most of it. Huixing, it's not that I don't want to help you, but how can we help you with what you've done? Xiaochen's face was dark. Do you think that we, the hidden house, yes, are idiots? Ah. Yu Huixing paused, not understanding what Yu Xiaochen was talking about. House head. What do you mean? Yu Huixing asked nervously. What do I mean? Take a look at this letter yourself. With that, Yu Xiaochen tossed Yu Bing's letter to Yu Huixing. Other than greetings to the family, it also talked about Yu Huixing. There weren't any secrets that he couldn't let Yu Huixing. Letter? What letter? Yu Huixing looked at Xiaochen's face and had a bad feeling. He carefully took the letter from Xiaochen's hands, but he was a little surprised. This was a letter from home. What did it have to do with him? It seemed like it was from one of House Yu's juniors. Yu Huixing looked at the signature and saw that it was Yu Bing. He was even more surprised, but he still read it patiently. After all, Xiaochen wouldn't just give him a letter for nothing. There had to be a reason. But when Yu Huixing read that Yu Bing didn't hand over the qi-gathering pill, his face changed drastically. He didn't understand. How did someone know about this secret back then? I saw the news a few days ago. Weren't the couple, Blackie and the other grave robbers, caught in one fell swoop? Who else knows about this? But no matter what, this matter was exposed and Yu Bing's tone was very certain. This meant that he had solid proof, and Yu Huixing couldn't deny it. If Yu Bing had used a maybe, or guess tone, then Yu Huixing would have had some room to maneuver. House head Yu. Yu Huixing was scared, not knowing how Xiaochen was going to deal with him. He couldn't find an excuse. Could it be that the pill was given to the hidden House Zhao? If he were to tell the truth, not only would he not be able to avenge House Yu, he might even be slapped to death by Yu Xiaochen. So Yu Huixing's mind raced, trying to think of a reasonable excuse to avoid House Yu's blame. Me what? Can't think of an excuse anymore? Xiaochen laughed coldly. No. I'm a bit embarrassed to say it. Yu Huixing lowered his head. He'd already thought of an excuse and he pretended to be embarrassed. What's there to be embarrassed about? Xiaochen frowned. Actually, in the tomb the male thief was Lin Yi. Yu Huixing started making up a story. He thought of a way to avoid responsibility and frame Lin Yi at the same time. This way the hidden House Yu would target Lin Yi and Lin Yi would be done for. The male thief was Lin Yi? Xiaochen paused. Then how could the male thief be Lin Yi? Plus, even if it was Lin Yi, what does that have to do with you not handing over the pill? I'm ashamed to say that my pill was stolen by Lin Yi. Yu Huixing said sadly. Your pill was stolen by Lin Yi? According to what I know, Lin Yi was only a mystic mid-phase peak before he went to the test, right? You were already in Earth class early phase at that time and you were still scared of Lin Yi? Xiaochen felt that Yu Huixing's words were a bit strange. So that's why I didn't dare tell you the truth. Yu Huixing said angrily, that Lin Yi may be a mystic mid-phase peak, but he has a trump card that's really strong and I was poisoned. Yes, poisoned. Even if I was an Earth class, I wouldn't be Lin Yi's opponent. And so my pill was stolen by Lin Yi? Then why didn't you say so earlier? Xiaochen wasn't an idiot. Yu Huixing's words weren't very detailed and he couldn't just believe it. I was afraid of losing face, wasn't I? I'm in Earth class early phase and my pill was stolen by a mystic mid-phase peak. How would I be able to face anyone if this got out? Yu Huixing said with a sad face. House head, but you know that Lin Yi does have some tricks up his sleeves, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to kill my brother. After my brother took the pill he was on par with an Earth class early phase peak, and since Lin Yi can fight above his level then… I know that Lin Yi has some special abilities, of course I don't need you to explain. Xiaochen waved his hand. He knew Lin Yi very well. This guy was able to make Feng Nidian and Zhang Naipeo, two disciples from the ancient houses and sects, lose to him. He definitely wasn't a simple character. The question was, how trustworthy could Yu Huixing's words be? Yes. I'm sorry, House Head Yu, I hid the truth before because I was afraid of being punished by the house. Yu Huixing said carefully. Are you telling the truth? Xiaochen frowned. Of course I don't dare hide anything. Yu Huixing said in fear. If that's the case then I'll write a letter and ask Yu Bing if Lin Yi really took the pill. Xiaochen said coldly as if he didn't believe Yu Huixing's words. But in reality Xiaochen believed most of it already. Yu Bing was on good terms with Lin Yi during the test, so the news of Yu Huixing getting the pill was most likely from Lin Yi as well. Lin Yi and the common House Yu were enemies, and Lin Yi was probably trying to use Yu Bing to spread the news to the hidden House Yu, and have them deal with Yu Huixing, or at least not participate in the battle between Lin Yi and the common House Yu. Chapter 17-18. Otherwise, where would Yu Bing have gotten this information from? Don't. Yu Huixing jumped when he heard that Xiaochen was going to ask him. He subconsciously tried to stop him, but regretted it immediately. Wouldn't it mean that he was guilty if he stopped him? Don't? What? You're afraid that your lie will be exposed? Xiaochen had already believed most of it, but now that Yu Huixing was saying this he was starting to doubt himself. Saint Hall, no. I mean if you ask him like this, how would Lin Yi admit to it? Yu Huixing said, I'm guessing that it was Lin Yi who told young Master Yu that I got the chi-gathering pill, and his goal was to make you blame me. But you're a wise man, how would you fall for that easily? Yu Huixing was a careful man, he'd heard Xiaochen's words very carefully. He'd caught on to the fact that Lin Yi had joined the test as well, so he'd be able to frame Lin Yi. No need to flatter me, get to the point. Xiaochen waved his hand, not buying it. Yes. Yu Huixing continued his analysis. So, think about it, if you were young Master Yu Bing's good friend, would you admit that you stole their chi-gathering pill? What you said is not without reason. Xiaochen nodded, but I'd still write a letter to ask if Lin Yi was the male thief, if he participated in the tomb robbery. That. Yu Huixing was scared, but he couldn't say it out loud. Look, Master, since young Master Yu Bing didn't mention Lin Yi in the letter, it means that he's trying to cover for Lin Yi. How would he admit to it if you asked? If it were me, I'd deny it as well. Oh, it doesn't matter, we just need to pay attention to the technique when we ask. Xiaochen waved his hand casually. When the time comes, I'll just ask him directly. Why didn't he tell me that Lin Yi was a male thief and that he got the chi-gathering pill as well? Why did he hide the truth? I didn't explain in detail and pretended that I knew everything to reproach him. That. Yu Huixing was a little helpless, he had no reason to argue anymore. One had to admit that Xiaochen's suggestion was very logical. As a member of House Yu, Yu Bing wouldn't dare hide anything under such a harsh tone. But, if Yu Bing really didn't know anything, no matter how much he blamed him, no matter how much he pretended to know everything, Yu Bing wouldn't admit it. Therefore Yu Huixing was worried that he had said it on the spur of the moment. What would he do when the truth came out? Alright, it's decided then. Xiaochen waved his hand. If it really was Lin Yi, then I won't make it hard for you. I know that Lin Yi has some skills, but if you're just making it up, then you know the consequences. With that, Xiaochen waved his hand impatiently and picked up his teacup. Yu Huixing knew that Xiaochen was asking him to leave, and he could only sigh helplessly. There was no point in talking about this, he could only wait for the final result. Yu Huixing walked back to his place, only to realize that Yu Lu was following him, and it was very blatantly. He knew that he was being watched. I hope that Yu Bing can help me as well. Yu Huixing prayed for a miracle in his heart. Xiaochen watched as Yu Huixing left and quickly rushed to the old ancestors' practicing grounds. This was a huge matter and he had to discuss it with his father. The old ancestor was a little curious about Xiaochen's return. I say, Xiaochen, why are you back? Is it because of Yu Huixing? Yes, it's because of Yu Huixing. Xiaochen was impressed by his father's sharp eyes. He nodded quickly. Saint Hall, you can't even make a decision on such a small matter? The old ancestor was a little surprised. Xiaochen wasn't someone like that before. Dealing with Yu Huixing wasn't a big deal. Was there a need to discuss it with him? There's something else going on here. Xiaochen shook his head. Father, I did as you asked and showed the letter to Yu Huoxing, and he told me the reason behind it. Oh? What reason? The old ancestor was curious as well. What secret could there be? It's like this. Xiaochen repeated what Yu Huoxing had said, as well as his analysis of the suspicious points, as well as the credibility of the words. According to what he said, it's possible but also impossible. The old ancestor nodded. Writing a letter and asking is the right thing to do. You can make the decision yourself. Just tell me the result, it's not a big deal. Yes, I'll write a letter and ask now, Xiaochen replied. After returning from the old ancestor's training grounds, the first thing Xiaochen did was to write a letter blaming Lin Yi. Of course, he didn't go into the details, but he used an affirmative tone to say that he knew that Lin Yi had participated in the tomb robbery, and that Lin Yi had gotten the qi-gathering pill. Why didn't Yu Bing report this? As for the details, Xiaochen didn't mention anything. This was also because he didn't want to expose himself. If Yu Bing really did have something to hide, he'd definitely give an explanation after reading this letter. He wrote too much and it felt like he was trying to cover something up. After writing the letter, Xiaochen walked quickly to his daughter's room. Xiaochen was an Earth-class late-phase peak, and if he didn't make any noise, Yuning wouldn't be able to hear anything. The other disciples and servants of House Yu naturally wouldn't stop him when they saw him. And so, Xiaochen came to Yuning's room without any obstructions, only to find that she was painting. Xiaochen didn't mind that Yuning was painting, but when he saw the person in the painting, he frowned. Ahem. Xiaochen coughed twice. Yuning jumped in fright and the brush in her hand shook. The painting was ruined. She didn't think that someone would suddenly appear in the quiet room. And when Yuning turned around, she realized that it was her father. Her face reddened and she wanted to pull down her drawing board. I've already seen it, there's no need to hide it. Xiaochen had wanted to have a good talk with his daughter, but seeing how infatuated she was still drawing Lin Yi. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 17-19. In the painting there was a man and a woman sitting together in an empty field, looking up at the starry sky. The woman in the painting was Yuning. This made Xiaochen even angrier. So what if he sees it? Yuning was stubborn as well. Since her father saw it, there was no point in hiding it anymore. You and Lin Yi will never happen. Xiaochen said coldly, I talked to your grandpa today, your identity is different, you and Lin Yi will never be together in this life, stop dreaming. Yuning pursed her lips and didn't say anything, but from her expression, it was clear that she didn't listen to Xiaochen's words at all. After all, she'd heard it too many times and was numb to it. However, she never gave up on that stubbornness. Closing her eyes, Yuning would remember that year, that night, that Valentine's Day in front of the fire in the cave, the two of them looking at the starry sky together. That was the happiest night Yuning had ever had, and it was a time she'd dreamed of thousands of times. This is a letter from Yu Bing. Xiaochen said helplessly, seeing that his daughter wasn't saying anything. He placed the letter on Yuning's desk and turned to leave. Remember what I said, Lin Yi may have some skills, but he's not worthy of your identity. You're destined to become a sky class of House Yu, and a sky class late phase peak at that. Lin Yi will never be able to surpass you in this lifetime. Dad, don't underestimate him. Yuning wasn't too happy. No one wanted their lover to be belittled by their parents like that. Underestimate? Xiaochen shook his head. Ning, you don't understand it yet, but you'll understand when you get to that step. I'm not afraid of hurting your confidence, but unless Lin Yi has the strength to surpass all the ancient sects, don't even think about it. I believe he'll do it, Yuning said. Do it? Xiaochen was amused by his daughter's stubbornness. He couldn't imagine that his daughter would be this infatuated, believing in something like this. From childhood to adulthood, my sixth sense has always been very accurate, Yuning insisted. Xiaochen shook his head and didn't say anything else. He felt that his daughter had already gone crazy, and there was no point in saying anything more. He could only turn around and leave, letting his daughter think things through on her own. Yuning was at home anyways and there was no chance for her to see Lin Yi. Xiaochen wasn't worried. Lin Yi and Yushu returned to Songshan, and the first thing they did after dropping Yushu off at home was go to the floating cloud bar. At this moment, the bar had not opened yet. The waiter was cleaning the bar, but the door of the bar was kicked open. Lin Yi didn't waste any time and directly barged in. It wasn't the first time he came to the floating cloud bar, so he was familiar with the place. Sihua had brought Boss Zhu to the orphanage early in the morning to negotiate with the headmaster of the orphanage. He wanted to settle things as soon as possible before anything else happened. Although the fire had destroyed his building, it was still a big crime to set fire to the orphanage. He was afraid that the orphanage wouldn't let him off easily, and if things got out of hand, he'd be in big trouble. Jianghu was assigning tasks to the waiters when he saw Lin Yi barge in. He jumped in shock. "Not good, Lin Yi's here," Jianghu yelled, warning Zhao Qibing and Yao Wang in the room. Zhao Qibing was in the middle of it all, and he almost went mad from Su Jianghu's shout. Although he didn't go mad, all his previous efforts were in vain. The pure qi he had accumulated for the entire night had all dissipated in fear. "Lin Yi, what are you doing here?" Zhao Qibing was a little traumatized. Seeing Lin Yi, he couldn't help but feel the pain in his leg. He couldn't even stand straight. "You don't know why I'm here?" Lin Yi looked at Zhao Qibing with a smile that wasn't a smile. "How would I know?" Zhao Qibing remembered that he was now Elder Bai's direct disciple, and his courage returned. Why would he be afraid of Lin Yi? He was now one of the candidates for the head of the house. He was no longer the Zhao Qibing from before. "Oh, I'm actually here to break your leg," Lin Yi said as he walked towards Zhao Qibing. "Don't do anything stupid." Zhao Qibing jumped in fright. He wanted to ask Boss Zhu for help, but he suddenly remembered that Boss Zhu was taken away by Cihua to threaten the orphanage's headmaster. In his bar, other than Yao Wang, a mystic class master who wasn't very good at fighting, there was only Uncle Zhu the cripple. "It's fine if I don't do anything stupid." "You burned the orphanage, right?" Lin Yi asked. "Me? How is that possible? My building has been burned down. How can I be the one who burned it? I'm also looking for the arsonist." Zhao Qibing denied flatly. He thought that Lin Yi really was here for the orphanage. Why did this guy like to stick his nose into other people's business? They didn't earn much money from the reconstruction of the slums, and the compensation they gave to the residents was the highest standard. He wanted to earn some money from the orphanage, but this Lin Yi was sticking his nose into other people's business again. "Oh, there's no need to look for him. I found him for you." "It's you?" Lin Yi said. "Me?" "Lin Yi, don't talk nonsense." Zhao Qibing knew that he wasn't the same as before, but he was still afraid of Lin Yi. "If I say it's me, then it's me," Lin Yi said. "Do you want me to break your leg before you admit it?" Zhao Qibing was speechless. He didn't want to admit it, so he broke his leg to force him to admit it? Who would do something like that? But thinking back to Lin Yi's domineering style, he really might do it. Lin Yi's story had spread across the world. Lin Yi had destroyed the common house Yu, and Zhao Qibing didn't doubt that Lin Yi would break his leg. If Lin Yi dared to mess with the hidden house Yu, what was the hidden house Zhao to him? "Is it me or not? I'll count to 3. If you don't admit it, then I'll break your leg." 2 last time, 3 this time, Lin Yi said impatiently. "Then it's me who burned it." Zhao Qibing had no choice but to admit it. Lin Yi could even beat a drugged Yu Shuixing to death, so even if Boss Zhu was here, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Lin Yi. Unless Elder Bai made a move himself, he wouldn't be able to hurt Lin Yi at all. But with the Hidden House Association, Elder Bai couldn't walk around the common world. A wise man knows when to retreat, and Zhao Qibing could only admit it, even though he didn't know what Lin Yi was planning. "Since you've admitted it, then it's easy. Pay up," Lin Yi said. "You burned down an orphanage, you have to pay at least 30 to 50 million, right? Plus the money you owe me last time, give me 200 million. Chapter 1720. Qibing finally understood why Lin Yi was here. He was here to ask for money. But where did Qibing have the money? He still owed Bloodstained Yellow Spring sect 300 million, and now Lin Yi was here to ask for 200 million? How was he supposed to live? Even if Qibing sold everything he had, he wouldn't be able to pay this amount of money. "Are you going to give it to me or not?" Lin Yi frowned. He was getting impatient. "I can give it to you, but I really don't have that much money right now. Look at my building, everything was burned down, and my real estate company hasn't even made any money yet. I'm already losing money and I've already rebuilt 3 buildings." Qibing said bitterly. "Then, can I owe it to you first?" "Owe it to you? How long do you owe?" Lin Yi saw that Qibing really didn't have any money, so he didn't force him. 2 years, within 2 years I'll definitely pay you back. I can write an IOU, Qibing said. He wanted to get rid of Lin Yi first. Who knows, he might be able to become an Earth-class master in 2 years. By then he wouldn't have to be afraid of Lin Yi anymore. "Well then write it." Lin Yi didn't expect Qibing to give him any money. This guy was so poor that his building was destroyed 3 times. He was probably broke as well. Extorting a few million from him wouldn't be enough for him to do anything. Qibing had no choice but to write an IOU to Lin Yi. But Lin Yi frowned after looking at the IOU. "You owe me for 2 years and you don't even have any interest? I have a few million in the bank, right? Interest? Can I not?" Qibing didn't want to give him the money at all, but he was instinctively afraid of Lin Yi. He was afraid that when Lin Yi became stronger he would have to pay him back. It's fine if you don't want it. Lin Yi put the IOU in his pocket and said, then I'll collect some interest now. Now. Qibing was quite happy when he heard the first half of Lin Yi's sentence, but when he heard the second half he almost fell to the ground. But before Qibing could sit down, two crisp sounds were heard and he fell onto the ground, because his leg was broken by Lin Yi again. Ouch. Qibing groaned in pain, but he was a practitioner now so he could still hold it in. He endured the pain in his leg, sweating profusely. You didn't keep your word. Didn't you say you'd stop fighting if I paid you back? Didn't I leave you a leg? Could it be that you want to break your third leg as well? As Lin Yi spoke, he raised his leg and pretended to step down. Qibing shook his head. No. I don't want to. He admitted that he was unlucky. Now that he met Lin Yi, he really couldn't do anything. But he swore in his heart that one day he would torture Lin Yi to death. He wanted to break every bone in Lin Yi's body and let him have a taste of this pain. I'll burn this bar down for you. If you dare to put it out, I'll burn it down in the middle of the night. If you can't escape, then don't blame me for not reminding you. As Lin Yi spoke, a flame appeared in his hand. He casually threw it on the wooden decorations of the bar, and it lit up in flames. Lin Yi, on the other hand, turned and walked out of the bar. After Lin Yi left, Su Jiaoneng, who was hiding at the side, ran over. Master Bing, what do we do now? Should we call the police and put out the fire? Put out my ass, let it burn? Didn't you hear what Lin Yi said? If I put out the fire, what if he comes back in the middle of the night? Qibing raged. Why aren't you carrying me out? Ask everyone in the bar to leave. Do you want to burn me to death? Yes. Yes. Su Jiaoneng wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and hurriedly replied. In House Chu's villa, Yushu was excitedly telling Meng Yao and Tang Yun about what happened during the noble house meeting. That old bastard Shuixing thought that he could go on a killing spree just because he took the pill and became an Earth-class early phase. At that time the atmosphere was really tense. All the families that were close to Shield Bro were in danger. My grandpa, Grandpa Wu, and Grandpa Song were all very worried. Yushu described the scene vividly, making Meng Yao and Tang Yun's hearts skip a beat. At that time Shield Bro appeared, and in an instant he showed his strength as an Earth class, making that old bastard Shuixing jump in fright. Everyone's jaw dropped as well, so Shield Bro was an Earth class as well. Yushu described in detail, making Tang Yun and Meng Yao feel as if the whole thing was happening right in front of their eyes. She took a sip of ice water and said, It's so hot, why is it so hot? Is the air conditioner on? It's on? Meng Yao said bitterly. Tang Yun and I are freezing and you're saying it's hot? Don't make so many exaggerated gestures when you're telling the story. Is that so? Yushu stuck out her tongue, giggling. Then it wouldn't be interesting. Let's continue. When we were talking about Shield Bro, that old bastard Shuixing didn't dare to go head-to-head with Shield Bro, so he went to attack my brother. He was about to hit my brother and Shield Bro couldn't stop him in time. That was when Shield Bro shouted, Earth-class skill frenzy fire fist. That old bastard Shuixing jumped in fright and dodged immediately. But after waiting for a long time, he didn't see any skill, and only then did he realize that he was tricked. Shield Bro didn't use any skill at all, he was just tricking him. Haha. Meng Yao and Tang Yun were amused as well. They didn't expect Lin Yi to be this shameless. Why did it feel like Yushu's style? And then that old bastard Shuixing got pissed off, saying that Shield Bro tricked him. I'm still so hot. I didn't even move, why am I still so hot? Yushu said as she drank another mouthful of ice water. You're too excited, aren't you? Tang Yun said. Do you want me to get some ice cream? Sure. Yushu said. I want the super big ones. But I'm still so hot right now, these pajamas are too hot, I'll just take them off. With that, Yushu took off her pajamas, leaving only her bra on. Shu, what are we going to do when Lin Yi comes back like this? Meng Yao frowned. It's fine, I'll put them back on in a bit. But it doesn't matter if he sees it, he's seen it a couple of times already. Yushu said nonchalantly. Meng Yao didn't say anything more. Yushu was just like that, always feeling hot for no reason. She didn't even wear clothes at home. Chapter 1725 Shu is sick, Part 2. Things had gotten better after Lin Yi's arrival, but it seemed that things were starting to get worse again. It's so hot. It's better to be naked. Yushu didn't wait for Meng Yao to say anything before taking off her bra and pajamas, leaving only her underwear on. She started running around the room like a headless fly. It's so hot, I'm going to die from the heat. Meng Yao didn't know what to say, there was a sea of white and 2 super large papayas in front of her. It was making her dizzy. Shu, the more you run around the hotter you'll get. Calm down and wait for Yunin to get you some ice cream. Oh. Yushu stopped, but it still seemed like she was still hot. Tang Yun came back at this time and was shocked to see Yushu naked. Luckily, the 3 of them had showered together before, so it wasn't too shocking. Shu, here's some ice cream. It's not very good for you to be like this. Give it to me, give it to me. Yushu took the ice cream from Tang Yun, but the moment her hand touched the ice cream melted into a puddle of liquid, and in the blink of an eye, it flowed all over the floor. Ah, this ice cream. Tang Yun thought that the fridge was broken, but she looked at the other 2 ice creams in her hands. Yushu's ice cream was the only one that melted. Meng Yao, on the other hand, realized that something was wrong as well. She reached out to touch Yushu, only to have the latter jump in fright as she pulled her hand back with a yelp. Why's it so hot? Shu. Yao Yao, I feel like I'm getting cooked. What should I do? What should I do? Yushu's fair skin was starting to turn an unnatural shade of red. It was the color of a cooked crab. What's going on? Tang Yun was a little confused. Yao Yao, why don't you go online and check what's going on? Okay. Meng Yao nodded quickly and picked up the tablet beside her to check Shu's symptoms. Lin Yi was looking for trouble with Lin Yi, so Meng Yao didn't want to disturb Lin Yi by calling him. Did you find it? Tang Yun asked. I found it, but the internet says that Shu's symptoms are due to an aphrodisiac? Meng Yao looked at the screen with a weird expression. It says that after a girl is drugged, her body will heat up and she will take off her clothes. Ugh. Tang Yun looked at the explanation on the screen and looked at Shu. Why didn't it seem like it? She blushed and said embarrassedly, that's not right. I was drugged with that drug once. But after that, not only did I heat up. And I really want to do that. That's right, Shu looks pretty normal, she doesn't look like she's been drugged. Plus, she came back with Lin Yi, there's no way anyone would have had the chance to do that. It can't be Lin Yi. Meng Yao nodded as she tossed the laptop aside. Whatever, let's not look into it anymore. Yeah, Shield bro doesn't even need to drug Shu. It's so hot, I just feel hot, nothing else. Yushu nodded. Why don't you try taking a cold shower? Tang Yun was sweating after hearing Yushu's words. She quickly suggested. Okay, Yao Yao Yin, help me turn on the water. I feel like I'm burning up, it's so uncomfortable. Yushu moaned in pain. Meng Yao and Tang Yun quickly ran to the bathroom to put cold water in Yushu's bathtub. Tang Yun was confused. What's wrong with Shu? Was she like this before too? I don't know. She used to say it was hot all the time, taking off all her clothes in the villa in the middle of winter. I didn't pay much attention to it before because I thought she liked not wearing clothes. But it's never been this serious before. Meng Yao was panicking as well. She looked at the running water and wanted it to be bigger. Maybe we should give Lin Yi a call? Let him take a look at Shu? Tang Yun didn't know what to do. Yushu couldn't have matured so quickly, could she? How can we call Lin Yi when Shu's like this? Meng Yao smiled bitterly. She's hiding her illness. Tang Yun smiled bitterly as well. Shu doesn't care about it and neither do I. We can't just carry her to the hospital like this, right? If there's no other way, we can only call Lin Yi back. Meng Yao nodded helplessly. Tang Yun was right. If she and Shu didn't care, why should she be nervous? Besides, it was better to let Lin Yi see than to let others see, right? Plus, it wasn't the first time Shu had been seen. She was always saying that she wanted to be Lin Yi's mistress, so it wasn't a big deal to have a look. After the cold water was ready, Yushu ran in impatiently, took off her underwear, and jumped into the bathtub. Not only did the cold water fail to cool her down, it even started boiling and bubbling. It was as if Yushu was being cooked. Yushu jumped out of the bathtub with a whoosh and screamed. It's hot, it's hot. Shu, you're hotter than boiling water? You're boiling the water? Meng Yao shook her head as she picked up her phone. I'll call Lin Yi, it looks like you're sick. Lin Yi received Meng Yao's call as soon as he left the floating cloud bar. Miss? What's wrong? What's wrong? Lin Yi was just about to head home when Meng Yao's call came in unexpectedly. Meng Yao wasn't monitoring Lin Yi like she used to these days, and she didn't ask him to come home at a certain time either. What, miss? I'm not joking with you. Something happened at home, Shu. Something happened. Can you come back and take a look? Meng Yao was a little hesitant when she said the words, but the best way to solve a problem like this was to find Lin Yi. No one else would do. So, something happened? Lin Yi paused. He just sent Shu home not long ago and she was fine. What happened? Yeah, you'll know when you come back. I don't know how to explain it. Her whole body was hot. Then she took off all her clothes like a cooked lobster. Meng Yao said. Hot all over? Took off all her clothes? Lin Yi paused. Then wait for me to go back and take a look. Lin Yi's words were a little ambiguous. Going back and taking a look, was it to see Shu naked or her illness? Target equals underthumig. Chapter 1721. Chapter 1726, Shu is sick, Part 2. Chapter 1726, Shu is sick, Part 2. Meng Yao was a little embarrassed, but when Lin Yi hung up the phone she realized that she was thinking too much. Lin Yi sped up the car and rushed back to the villa. Lin Yi opened the door himself, and Meng Yao and Tang Yun were standing at the bathroom door, each holding a water gun to spray Yushu's body to lower her temperature. The flowing water was better, although it would boil instantly, it absorbed most of Yushu's body temperature. Lin Yi went upstairs and heard the sound of water in the bathroom. He hesitated and asked at the door, Can I go in? Lin Yi, you are back. Tang Yun quickly opened the door. Hurry up and check on Shu, she can't take it anymore. Lin Yi saw the scene in the bathroom and was shocked. Tang Yun and Meng Yao were spraying water on Shu's body, but when the water touched Shu's body, it seemed to boil instantly, making a sizzling sound and emitting steam. It was like she was in a sauna, but the steam was made by Shu herself. What happened to her? When Lin Yi sent Shu back she was still fine, but after going out for a walk she became like this. Lin Yi didn't have time to admire Shu's body because her whole body had turned red. We are not sure. She told us about your experience at the Noble House meeting, and then she said it was hot so she took off her clothes and then it got hotter and hotter. Meng Yao quickly explained what happened. I did. Lin Yi braved the water gun and walked to Shu's side. Just when he put his hand on her wrist to feel her pulse, Lin Yi subconsciously pulled his hand away, and Lin Yi gritted his teeth. Lin Yi glanced at his hand. It was covered in blisters. The temperature was at least 100 degrees Celsius, but what puzzled Lin Yi was that Shu didn't seem to be burned. Although her body was red, it didn't cause any big problems. If it was an ordinary person they would have been burnt to death. Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery and quickly healed his burn wounds. Then he used his chi to protect his hand and went to feel Shu's pulse. Shield bro? I'm so hot. Can you carry me to the ice palace to keep me company? I'm dying. Yushu said, panting. Lin Yi did not reply. Instead he frowned deeply. Inside Yushu's body, Lin Yi didn't find anything wrong with it. It was like a normal person, but there was an inexplicable heat. You didn't find anything wrong with you? Shu doesn't seem to be sick? Lin Yi shook his head and said, What's going on? It's a little similar to Xiao's. Xiao's body is extremely cold, and yours is extremely hot, but there are no other symptoms? Shu isn't sick. Meng Yao was shocked. Then you guys maintain it for a while, I'll call my old man and ask him if he has seen something like this. Lin Yi had no choice but to ask old Lin for help. Lin Yi quickly went out of the bathroom. In the bathroom, Lin Yi felt unbearably hot, and he was covered in water as if he had just taken a sauna. Lin Yi took out his phone and wanted to call old Lin, but his phone was soaked in water. He couldn't use it at all. Lin Yi quickly ran downstairs and used the landline in the living room to call old Lin. You're calling me again so soon? Old Lin picked up the phone. It was a little strange. Lin Yi had called him about the orphanage and not long after the second call came. Old man, I need to ask you something. If a person's whole body is hot, but there are no other symptoms after a check, what's going on? Lin Yi asked urgently. Oh? What do you mean by a whole body is hot, but there are no other symptoms after a check? Explain it in detail. Old Lin didn't quite understand Lin Yi's question. It's like this. Lin Yi explained Yushu's situation to old Lin in detail. That's how it is. I feel like I'm at my wit's end right now. Do you have any ideas? Why do you think this situation is similar to the legendary fire poison? Old Lin was stunned. Fire poison? No way, Xiao has the cold poison and now there's the fire poison? Lin Yi was also stunned. Xiao doesn't have the cold poison, it's just similar to the cold poison, but her situation is really hard to say. Old Lin shook his head and said, I can't say for sure right now, why don't you bring her to me? Bring her? Then she can't die, right? Lin Yi asked with a bitter smile. According to what you said, if she hasn't been burned to death after so long, then she won't die, old Lin said. There shouldn't be a problem. Okay. If there's no other way, I'll bring her back. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. At the same time, in the bathroom upstairs, Yushu suddenly waved her hand at Meng Yao and Tang Yun. Right, I remember I've had this problem since I was young. In the second drawer of the bedside table in my bedroom, There's a small bottle with special medicine in it, just bring it to me. Ah? Eh. Mengyao heard Yushu's words and quickly replied. She threw down the water gun and quickly ran back to the room. As expected, she found a delicate small bottle in the drawer of the bedside table. She picked it up and quickly ran back to the bathroom. Shu, is this it? And then hurry up and take the pill out for me. Yushu looked at it, nodded and said hurriedly. Okay. Mengyao nodded and opened the small bottle. There was a pill inside. Is this it? Why does it feel like it was licked by someone? Did the sugar on the outside melt? Oh, maybe it was sprayed by Yun's water gun. Give it to me. Yushu opened her mouth. Mengyao remembered that this was the life-saving pill Yushu was waiting for. She didn't dare to ask any more and quickly threw the pill into Yushu's mouth. Yushu swallowed the pill and after a while she suddenly shivered and shouted, "Wow, it's so cold, turn off the water valve. I'm freezing to death." Ah. Tang Yun paused but saw that Yushu's skin color had returned to normal. She quickly turned off the water valve and said, "You're okay?" Yes, I'm freezing to death, I need a towel to wipe myself." Yushu nodded. I'm freezing to death. Hashtag, you can see her. Chapter 1722. Treating a guest, Mengyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she watched Yushu walking around in circles. She was the complete opposite of what she was doing before. Lin Yi had come up the stairs as well. He was just about to go into the washroom to check on Yushu when he saw a white body running out. Lin Yi, an Earth class early phase, accidentally bumped into the body. So comfortable. That was Lin Yi's first feeling. The second feeling was that his body felt cold as if someone was glaring at him. Lin Yi turned around and saw Tang Yun smiling. Lin Yi paused and let go of Shu awkwardly. Huh? Shu, how come you're fine? Miracle Dr. Lin, you're so powerful and you still can't see that Shu's skin color is normal? Even an Earth class master couldn't hide from it. What would you do if it was an enemy? Tang Yun was a little jealous. If it was under other circumstances she wouldn't know, but Lin Yi was flirting with Shu in front of her. This made her unhappy. Look. Lin Yi didn't think that his subconscious action was seen through by Tang Yun. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. He just couldn't resist the temptation and made a small mistake. Tang Yun caught him red-handed, which made him embarrassed. I was too anxious and didn't pay attention. Mengyao naturally understood and covered her mouth to hide her laughter. So Tang Yun still had a little temper. It had been hard on her recently. She had been tolerating Lin Yi and Shu, and today, she finally exploded under Lin Yi's evil actions. Alright, it's fine now. Tang Yun was just pointing it out. If she didn't let it go, not only would it embarrass Lin Yi, but it would also make Mengyao look down on her. So Tang Yun only warned Lin Yi. Shu ran to the bedroom to wipe her body. Lin Yi laughed dryly and said, How did she recover? I'm not too sure, but Shu said that it's an old problem of hers. She suddenly remembered that she had a special medicine and asked me to get it for her. She'll be fine after taking it. Mengyao explained. Special medicine? What special medicine? Lin Yi asked. This is it. Mengyao handed the bottle to Lin Yi. Is there more in here? That's all? Lin Yi looked at the bottle in his hand. The craftsmanship was extremely exquisite, but it was empty. There were no pills inside. Nope, just one pill. Mengyao said. I see. Lin Yi put the bottle under his nose and took a sniff. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary, only the scent of sugar coating. It seemed that the pill was covered in sugar, and nothing else could be detected from the inside of the bottle. Yeah, we'll have to ask Shu later. We have a lot of questions too, Mengyao shrugged. When Yushu came out of the bedroom again, she was already in her pajamas. Her face was back to normal. Shu, are you alright? Mengyao asked with lingering fear. Yeah, I'm fine. Yushu shook her head and smiled. Hehe, I made you guys worry? Shu, what's going on? I heard from Yao Yao that it's an old problem? Lin Yi looked at Shu's complexion. She was indeed back to normal. She was like a different person from before. Yeah, it's an old problem. It acted up when I was young, but it never acted up again after I grew up. Yushu nodded. I almost forgot, there's a special medicine I brought from home. I didn't think it'd take so many years to use. Special medicine? Did you see a doctor when you were young? Lin Yi asked as he fiddled with the bottle in his hand. Yeah, I did. It's fine? Yushu said casually. The doctor said that it'll be fine for a long time after I eat it. What do you do if it happens again? Lin Yi asked. Do you have more of this medicine? Let me study it, I'll see if I can find the formula. It's at home. I'll go get it when I'm free next time. Yushu said. All right. Lin Yi calmed down after hearing Yushu's words. All right, I'm fine now. To celebrate, let's go out for a big meal tonight? Yushu suggested. She didn't want to talk about it anymore. Sure, what do you want? Linny asked with a smile. Let's go eat steak? I'm craving steak. Yushu said. Sure, I'll make a call and book a table at a Western restaurant. Mengyao nodded. Mengyao was just about to make the call when her phone rang. Daddy? Why are you calling me at this hour? Mengyao found it odd that the call was from Pengzhan. He usually called Mengyao in the morning to let her know that he was safe. He rarely called in the afternoon. Yao Yao, are you free tonight? Want to go out for dinner? Pengzhan said. Tonight? Dinner? Only you? Mengyao blinked, not understanding why her father would want to go out for dinner tonight. It wasn't a weekend, nor was it a holiday. She didn't know why it was so sudden. It's your uncle and Mingyue and Jiangwen? Pengzhan sighed. They're old neighbors and they came back to Songshan all of a sudden. They wanted to arrange a dinner for us. I couldn't reject them, so I agreed. Pengzhan actually liked Jiangwen quite a bit at first, but after Housen moved away, the two families only worked together in business. Today, Pengzhan didn't know what to do with Jiangwen's sudden visit, but he couldn't reject them because of his pride. After all, the two families had always been in business with each other and they were old neighbors. Pengzhan couldn't reject them. Is that so? Mengyao frowned. Shu wants to eat steak. Where are they treating us? We haven't confirmed the place yet. I'll let them know if you agree. Pengzhan said. We don't know if you're free today, so we're not sure, but steak is fine. I'll tell them to go to a Western restaurant. All right, but bring Lin Yi and Tang Yun, is that okay? Mengyao asked. Of course. Pengzhan smiled. It's just a family dinner? All right, I'll wait for your call, Daddy. Mengyao replied. Yushu hung up the phone. Yao Yao, someone's treating us? #target equals _blank. Chapter 1723. Chapter 1728, Sending Flowers. It's Jiangwen and Uncle Lin. Mengyao frowned. Dad couldn't reject them, they're our old neighbors, so, Jiangwen? Housen wants to treat you to a meal after being humiliated in the noble house meeting? They're not trying to get close to Shield Bro, are they? Yushu had seen Housen leave the noble house meeting, so she found it strange that Housen was treating them to a meal all of a sudden. I'm not sure about that. Dad said that they're just business partners and old friends, they didn't mention anything else. Mengyao shook her head. Doesn't matter, let's go check it out tonight. Linny said. If it's just a meal, then we'll eat. As for other things, we'll see. Soon, Pengzhan called again, confirming the restaurant. It was a comprehensive buffet restaurant with different cuisines from different countries. Of course, the price wasn't cheap. At 5 at night, Linny drove Mengyao, Yushu, and Tang Yun to the restaurant they agreed on. They parked the car and the four entered the restaurant. And Mingyue, Jiangwen, and Pengzhan were already there, waiting at the resting area on the first floor. Pengzhan waved his hand when he saw Lin Yi and the others. Yao Yao, you've gotten prettier in a few days. Jiangwen smiled as he took out a bouquet of flowers from somewhere and handed it to Mengyao. Really? I haven't been resting well these past few days and I don't look well. You should get a pair of glasses. Mengyao didn't care at all for Jiangwen's praises, nor did she care about the flowers. Jiangwen was a little awkward, he didn't know why Mengyao didn't like him. Weren't they getting along well when they were kids? Why did they become so distant after they grew up? He didn't seem to understand Mengyao at all. In fact, if he looked at it from another angle, he didn't understand Mengyao, but Mengyao didn't understand him either. How could Mengyao know what he was doing in the dark? Ah, Yao Yao, you really know how to joke around. But even if you don't look well, you're still pretty. Jiangwen smiled as he raised the flowers in his hand. Fresh flowers with a beauty for you? Give it to Lin Yi. Mengyao didn't want to accept the flowers. Jiangwen paused. He wasn't gay, so why would he give the flowers to Lin Yi? But before he could react, the flower in Jiangwen's hand was already in Lin Yi's. Lin Yi divided the flowers into 3 portions and gave them to Tang Yun, Mengyao, and Yushu. For you guys. Thank you. Mengyao happily accepted the flowers from Lin Yi, and Tang Yun and Yushu happily accepted them as well. Jiangwen gritted his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Let's go, I heard that Shu wants to eat steak, so I booked this buffet restaurant. The steak here is very authentic, and there are many snacks from all over the world. When they entered the restaurant, Jiangwen swiped his card. There was a total of 7 people eating, and it cost more than 20,000 yuan. The cost here wasn't low, and it wasn't lower than those high-class hotels. And that didn't include the drinks. If they wanted red wine, they would have to pay separately. The restaurant was very big and there weren't many customers. The environment was very elegant, and there were small booths and private rooms. There was even a bar counter for customers to choose from. "Old friend, we've been doing business together for a long time, but it's been a long time since we sat down and drank together like this." And Mingyue smiled. "Let's sit at a table and let the kids sit at another table. We won't disturb each other." Hao Sen's actions this time surprised Lin Yi. The two didn't seem to have any awkwardness like they did at the Noble House meeting. It was as if the Noble House title didn't mean anything to Hao Sen, and they really did treat Pengzhan this time to reminisce about the past. After all, the father and son didn't have the slightest intention of getting on Lin Yi's good side. This made Lin Yi sigh in relief, but at the same time he was confused. Lin Yi was afraid that Mingyue would ask Pengzhan for them to join the practitioners' union. If Pengzhan really did ask, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to reject him. But now that worry was gone. But the two's actions made Lin Yi feel strange. Could it be that Mingyue and Jianghu really didn't care about the Noble House title? Or did they have something else to rely on? As he was thinking, Jianghu smiled at everyone. "Let's sit here, don't disturb the elders." With that, Jianghu pointed at a rather large open booth not too far away. This booth was for 6 people, meaning that only 3 people could sit in a row. Jianghu's arrangement meant that he wanted to sit next to Meng Yao. After all, Lin Yi and Tang Yun were a couple, and they couldn't be separated. Between Meng Yao and Yushu, one had to sit next to him. But as far as he was concerned, Yushu would either sit next to Lin Yi or Meng Yao. There was no way she would sit alone next to him. Meng Yao naturally understood what Jianghu was thinking. But in this restaurant, it was either a 4 or 6 person table. If there were more people, they would have to go to a small room. Pengzhan and Mingyue weren't with them, so it wasn't appropriate for them to go to a private room. Hence, a 6-person booth was the best choice. But when they got close to the booth, Meng Yao said, "We girls can sit on one side. You guys can sit on the other side?" Lin Yi didn't mind, but Jianghu was pissed. It took him so much effort to come up with such a good idea, and it was ruined just like that. But he couldn't say no right now. It'd look like he had bad intentions if he did. "Sure, it doesn't matter where we sit. The most important thing is to eat. The food here is good and there are snacks from all over the world. They're all very authentic. I've been here once, so let me be your guide," Jianghu said as he picked up his plate like a gentleman. "Jianghu, your house and doesn't seem to be affected?" Lin Yi couldn't help but ask. Jianghu gave him a very strange feeling. House Kong and whatnot wanted to join the ranks of the noble houses, but Hao Sen didn't seem to have that intention at all. "Ah, Lin Yi, that's a different thing. We might have some conflicts and misunderstandings, but I'm the host right now. I'm treating Yao Yao's family to a meal. Give me some face and let's not talk about this for now," Jianghu said with a carefree smile. #target=_blank. Chapter 1724. You too. But Jianghu moved closer to Lin Yi and lowered his voice. "In fact, noble houses and whatnot don't really have much use for us, and our business is half black and half white, and keeping a low profile is the right thing to do. Conflict? Misunderstanding? I almost lost my kidney?" Lin Yi said expressionlessly as he looked at Jianghu. "I'm a victim too, I lost a kidney too." Jianghu smiled bitterly. "You can't blame me." Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. Everyone knew what was going on, but Lin Yi had offended too many powers, and he didn't want to go against Jianghu right now. Otherwise Lin Yi wouldn't have come to this dinner. Jianghu's firewolves were something that even Faubert didn't want to talk about. Evidently they had a very strong background. Lin Yi would be an idiot to mess with a super gang like that. The group brought their plates to the buffet area. Since it was a buffet, they could choose how much they wanted to eat and what they wanted to eat. Jianghu started introducing the food along the way. "This is the Korean cuisine area. Yao Yao, what do you want to eat?" "I'll get it for you." With that, Jianghu picked up a few pieces of Korean barbecued meat and put it on Meng Yao's plate. "I don't want it, it's too oily." Meng Yao quickly moved her plate to the side, making Jianghu feel a little awkward. But since he'd already picked it up, he couldn't just put it back. But Jianghu didn't give up. He took 2 steps forward. "There's Korean codfish here, it's not bad. I don't want it, it's too spicy." Meng Yao shook her head. Jianghu put the codfish back on his plate. "This beef is not bad, do you want to try it?" Jianghu didn't want to give up. "I don't want it." Meng Yao didn't want to explain. Jianghu put the beef tenderloin back on his plate. And so, Jianghu's plates piled up into a small mountain on the way, and he didn't find anything that suited Meng Yao's taste. He had no choice but to pass the plate back to the waiter and get a new plate. What Jianghu didn't recommend, on the other hand, was something Meng Yao randomly placed on her plate, making Jianghu regret his decision. It seemed that Meng Yao's taste was quite unique. After a moment of regret, Jiang Wen decided that he'd ask Meng Yao once every time it was a dish, but she'd always reject him. More and more dishes piled up on his plate, filling up 3 to 4 plates in one go. He'd asked the waiter to send them back a couple of times, but the waiter was still filling them up. But later on Jiang Wen learned his lesson. He'd ask first, and if Meng Yao didn't want it he wouldn't take it. But if Meng Yao wanted to eat it she'd take it herself. Jiang Wen didn't even need to do anything. Jiang Wen didn't know what to do so he continued asking. But Meng Yao stopped eating again. But Jiang Wen was comforted by the fact that Shu was helping him a little, or he'd have to change a couple more plates. This was the first time he felt that Yushu was such a good friend. After a turn they came to the dessert area, and Jiang Wen's eyes lit up. He found something that could improve his relationship with Meng Yao. Jiang Wen quickly ran to a dessert stall and picked up a dessert, handing it to Meng Yao. Yao Yao, this is one of the specialties here. It's a very popular snack on the internet. What's this? Meng Yao frowned. It was quite scary. The thing in Jiang Wen's hand looked like a body part. It's called Condor Shao, haha, it's very famous. Why don't you try it? Jiang Wen explained evilly. Haha, doesn't it look like a body part? I don't want it, take it away. Meng Yao glared at Jiang Wen. She didn't know what this guy was doing. What was he doing with this? Wasn't he just ruining her appetite? Jiang Wen didn't think that he'd make things worse. Wasn't this Meng Yao a little too innocent? The last time Jiang Wen came he'd come with Tai Zhao and some other girls, and those girls had been fighting over the food, laughing and joking with Tai Zhao and Jiang Wen. Why was it that the effect was completely different now that it was someone else? Shu, do you want it? Jiang Wen asked awkwardly. I'll try it. Yushu thought that this thing was quite fun, but she didn't know if it tasted good. Jiang Wen passed the Condor Shao to Shu as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. Shu didn't hold back and took a bite. Meng Yao felt her face blushing. The Shu really dared to eat anything. Is it good? Jiang Wen asked. He'd wanted to ask Meng Yao that question so that the two of them could flirt a bit more, but Yushu had already eaten him up. Jiang Wen wasn't interested anymore, so he just asked a question symbolically. It's alright, but it's not as good as Shield Bros, Yushu said. Jiang Wen paused and Lin Yi almost tripped over as well. Tang Yun, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. Shu, you've eaten Lin Yi's food before? Meng Yao felt that this was getting out of hand. How could the insensitive Yushu say something like that in front of everyone? I have. Yushu nodded with a straight face. Ahem. Lin Yi jumped as he looked at Meng Yao and Tang Yun, who were looking at him suspiciously. He quickly said, Shu, when did you eat? When I was at home. Yushu said. At home? Meng Yao glared at Lin Yi before turning to Shu with a serious tone. Shu, you need to make it clear. When did you eat at home? Where was I at that time? What was I doing? Meng Yao was thinking about it as well. She and Shu were together almost every day and sometimes Tang Yun was there too. She and Lin Yi didn't have the chance to do anything. Could it be that he hid it from her at night? A few days ago you were at home too. You ate it too. Yushu said. Me. Meng Yao almost dropped the plate in her hand. What kind of joke was this Shu playing at? When did she eat it? This time Tang Yun didn't think that it was possible. If Shu and Lin Yi had something going on she would believe it a little. After all, Shu was a bold person and she had a crush on Lin Yi. Naturally she would do anything. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1725. But Meng Yao was a person with strong principles. She wouldn't go along with Yushu, would she? Yeah, you ate it too. Yushu nodded. What did I eat? What did I eat? Meng Yao raged. Shu, what are you talking about? I'm not talking about anything. Shield Bro made us some snacks last time and it was much better than the ones here. Didn't you eat a lot too? Yushu said innocently. Meng Yao blinked. She didn't know if she should laugh or cry. Was she thinking too much or was Shu doing it on purpose? She blushed. She almost misunderstood Lin Yi. Oh, I know, Yao Yao, you're thinking the wrong thing. You must be thinking that it's the same thing you and Shield Bro did in the cave. Yushu blinked. What did I do in the cave? I was just helping him suck out the poison. Meng Yao quickly explained, afraid that Tang Yun would misunderstand. Jiang Wen was a bit troubled. He didn't get to flirt with Meng Yao, but Lin Yi got to flirt with these people instead. He should have just burned the bird and eaten it. That would have saved him so much trouble. When did you cook it? Why didn't I eat it? Tang Yun kicked Lin Yi lightly. Holy Hall. Lin Yi smiled bitterly at Tang Yun. Next time I'll cook it for you alone. I'm not eating it. Tang Yun felt that Lin Yi's words were a bit ambiguous. Haha. Lin Yi smiled. I said the fire, not the bird. I won't eat anything. Tang Yun said. Alright, let's go have a look. There seems to be steak that Shu likes. Jianghu made 5 to 6 plates of food for himself. He didn't have the mood to ask Meng Yao about it anymore. Everyone picked up the food and went back to their seats. Yushu started digging in while Meng Yao and Tang Yin ate like a gentleman. Lin Yi was the same as Yushu, sitting there and eating. Lin Yi didn't care about other people's eyes at all. Tang Yun and Meng Yao smiled bitterly as they watched Yushu and Lin Yi eating at each other's throats. These two were really a couple. They didn't care what other people thought of them no matter where they went. Shill bro, this is delicious. It's not as good as your cooking, but it's not bad. Yushu gave Lin Yi a piece of grilled steak. Hee hee. Lin Yi laughed and stuffed it into his mouth. Takitra Jianghu was a little disdainful, but in his heart he was still a little wary of Lin Yi. He wanted to mock him, but he didn't dare. Hao Sen's backing was much stronger than Lin Yi's. Even those hidden noble houses were nothing in front of the firewolves. But the relationship between Hao Sen and the firewolves was only a guess. Most people thought that Hao Sen was just a normal businessman, and they were in between the black and the white. Jianghu couldn't just bring up the firewolves, so he could only bear with Lin Yi for now. Remembering the purpose of this meal, Jianghu turned around with a smile and looked at Meng Yao. Yao Yao, why do I feel like we've become so distant? Although some of my actions before might have displeased you, I actually like you. I want to pursue you. You didn't dislike me when I tried to please you before, right? It's different when we were young. Meng Yao looked at Jianghu and sighed. Jianghu bro, we're all grown up now. We're mature and we should think more rationally. I've said it before, I've always treated you like a big brother. What you're doing won't end well. Hee hee, there's a saying, sincerity can open metal and stone. I believe that through my hard work, I'll be able to change your impression of me. Jianghu said. If what I did before made you uncomfortable, then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. It's fine. Meng Yao didn't say anything else after hearing what Jianghu said. Haha, and Lin Yi, I might have been targeting you before. I know now that you and Yao Yao have nothing to do with each other. I'll still need your help in the future. Jianghu said. Oh, that's not a problem, but you have to pay me. I'm helping you with the information, I can't just do it for free, can I? Lin Yi agreed quickly. Of course, of course. Jianghu laughed. He thought that Lin Yi wasn't afraid of lowering his image in Meng Yao's heart, but this only confirmed his suspicions that Lin Yi and Meng Yao had nothing to do with each other. Jianghu was a little embarrassed and angry about the Condor fire, but after thinking about it, he realized that Shu might have something going on with Lin Yi, but Meng Yao definitely didn't. This made things easier. He liked Meng Yao and he wouldn't take Yushu even if she gave it to him for free. Oh, then give me 3 to 5 million first. Lin Yi said. You know my account number. 3 to 5 million? Jianghu paused. This Lin Yi was too much, wasn't he? He was just brushing him off casually and he was really asking for money? Besides, what did he think he was doing? 3 to 5 million? No way. Jianghu bro, do you think 3 to 5 million is too much? Yao Yao is a miss from a rich family, and if you're stingy and marry her in the future, she'll have to suffer. You can't be that poor, can you? Yushu knew that Lin Yi was asking for money for the orphanage, so naturally she cooperated. She and Meng Yao had already donated all their pocket money to the orphanage, so she couldn't help Lin Yi much. Naturally she would help Lin Yi trick Jianghu. No, I mean, it's too little? Jianghu thought to himself. Fuck, I've earned a lot of money recently, but I've also given a lot to the firewolves. 3 to 5 million wasn't a small amount, and the problem was, this wasn't a problem that could be solved with just 3 to 5 million. Jianghu could only put on a sad face. Don't say 3 to 5 million, just 5 million. Isn't 5 million still 3 to 5 million? Isn't that a lot? Yushu asked. Jianghu's heart was filled with hatred. Fuck you, I'll let you be happy for now. Once I'm done with that thing, not only will House Chu's wealth be mine, but Meng Yao will be mine too. But on the surface he smiled. Haha, you're right. 8 million it is then. That's more like it. Yushu nodded. When are you giving it to me? I'll make a call to transfer the money now. Haha, I'm a man of my words, this is just a small amount. Jianghu laughed. Jianghu was afraid that Yushu would say something else, so he quickly made the call. At the same time, Lin Yi received the message that the money had been transferred. Target equals underthumig. Chapter 1726. But Meng Yao said coldly after the transfer was done, You black sheep, spending so much money just to pick up girls? Or to scout for information? Whoever marries you will be pissed to death. What? Jianghu paused, realizing that Yushu and Meng Yao were messing with him. Maybe Meng Yao didn't mean to mess with him, but she just happened to be helping Yushu and Lin Yi. Holy Hall, however, Meng Yao's actions made Jianghu very angry. He swore in his heart that he would get his hands on Meng Yao no matter what. He had to make sure that she would be on his side. Lin Yi and Yu Shu on the other hand ate quite a bit. Tang Yun and Meng Yao on the other hand only tasted a little. Jiang Wen on the other hand didn't eat much at all. Lin Yi and Yu Shu had already made him lose his appetite. Seeing that his father was almost done, he made a hand gesture to Jiang Wen, and the group prepared to leave. But just as they were about to leave, a waiter came over and said politely, "Sir, you haven't finished your food yet." "I can't, can I not?" Jiang Wen frowned. "Holy hall, but you have too much left. This is a waste, a shameful act." The waiter explained. "How much? I'll pay you." Jiang Wen waved his hand impatiently. He would have lost his temper long ago if Meng Yao wasn't here. "Sir, it's not a matter of money. You can leave if you don't want to finish your meal, but our cameras have already recorded your image. You will be displayed on the display board in the restaurant for a week as the subject of the shameful list." The waiter explained. Fuck. Jiang Wen couldn't take it anymore. "I'm spending money to eat, why would I be on the shameful list?" "Sir, this is a rule of the shop. It's a warning and punishment to customers who waste their food. We wouldn't pursue it if you only had a little left, but you have 6 plates of food left, and you haven't even finished? That's a bit too much." The waiter said politely. Jiang Wen was speechless. "Brother Jiang Wen, she's right. We need to be thrifty and not extravagant. If you're so wasteful, who would want to marry you in the future?" Yao sis is a thrifty person. Yushu chimed in. I'll eat it before I leave, okay?" Jiang Wen was furious, but he could only sit back down. "You guys leave first, I'll sit here and eat slowly, that's for the best." The waiter nodded with a smile. And so Lin Yi left with Meng Yao, Yushu and Tang Yun. And Ming Yue on the other hand had wanted to leave with Peng Zhan, but frowned when she saw that Jiang Wen was in trouble. She said to Peng Zhan embarrassedly, "Looks like Jiang Wen's appetite is pretty big. Old friend Chu, you'll have to go first. I'll wait here for a bit. I'll go to your company tomorrow to discuss the details." "That's not a problem. I'll be leaving first then, see you tomorrow, old friend," and Peng Zhan nodded with a smile. The two seemed to be having a good conversation as if they were back to their old friendship. Peng Zhan, Lin Yi, and the others walked out of the restaurant together. Meng Yao was confused when she saw Peng Zhan's red face. "Daddy, you seem to be having a good conversation with that Uncle In?" "Yeah, your Uncle In is planning to invest in a big project in Songshan, and he invited me to participate in it," Peng Zhan said excitedly. "Our group's development has reached a bottleneck. It's easy to maintain our performance, but it's hard to expand. If your Uncle An's project succeeds, our group will rise to the next level." "Daddy, you want to work with Uncle In?" Meng Yao frowned. "Their family doesn't do any proper business, right?" "Haha, don't worry, Yao Yao. I know what I'm doing. I won't participate in anything illegal. We're talking about a proper business, there won't be any problems," Peng Zhan said. "That's good." Meng Yao was just reminding him, but her father was saying that it shouldn't be a problem. After all, her father was a veteran in the business world and he knew what he was doing. He was much stronger than Meng Yao. Lin Yi, on the other hand, wasn't too optimistic about the cooperation between Peng Zhan and Ming Yue. He had the same worries as Meng Yao, but Lin Yi didn't say anything after Meng Yao asked. He might be the second largest shareholder of Peng Zhan Industries, but he didn't really care about the company's business. As a result, he didn't want to interfere in the company's business. Peng Zhan wouldn't participate in a problematic business, so Lin Yi didn't interfere. I heard from Yao Yao that you're bringing her, Shu and Tang Yun back to your hometown?" Peng Zhan changed the topic and asked Lin Yi. "Yeah, I plan to leave in a few days," Lin Yi said. "Uncle Chu, is there anything I can help you with?" "It's nothing, I was planning to visit with you, but I've just finished a big project here and I can't leave for a while." "I'm sorry," Peng Zhan said apologetically. "It's nothing, we're just going back for a vacation," Lin Yi smiled. "But Uncle Chu, you should be careful of Housen." Since the conversation had come to this point, Lin Yi took the opportunity to remind her. "Of course," Peng Zhan said, "the cooperation with Housen is something I've thought about. On one hand, we're old friends and I can't let them go. On the other hand, I've seen this project, and it'll be very profitable if it succeeds. It'll bring Peng Zhan Industries to a higher level." "That's good." Lin Yi didn't say anything. Peng Zhan was a veteran in business, and Lin Yi didn't know a thing about it. He could solve some problems with violence, but he didn't have much of a say when it came to business partnerships. In the parking lot, Lin Yi and Peng Zhan separated. Peng Zhan had Faubert pick him up, and Lin Yi drove back to the villa with Yao Yao and the others. He got 8 million from Jiang Wen today and it was enough for the orphanage. As for the other funds, Linny could think of other ways. Linny wanted to borrow some from Pengzhan, but he heard that Pengzhan was going to do a big project today, and Linny didn't mention it again. Chapter 1727. Not enough to earn, Daddy's acting a little weird today. Before, he kept his distance from Jiangwen's family, but now he's working with them again. Mengyao complained after getting in the car. After all, she had more chances to meet Jiangwen, and it was troublesome to deal with him. I've heard of a saying, but I don't know if it's true, but in the business world, there are no true enemies and friends. As long as there's a common interest, enemies can become friends. Tang Yun said, I wonder if that's the case, Uncle Chu? I think so. Daddy's doing business is quite amazing. Mengyao nodded. Tang Yun was talking about too many cases like this. Many companies that were suing each other turned into strategic partners in the blink of an eye. It wasn't a surprise that Pengzhan and Mingyue were working together. Let's see. Uncle Chu should know what he's doing, Linny said. Mengyao nodded and didn't say anything else. After getting home, the group packed their luggage and went back to West Star Village with Linny. Of course, they had to go shopping before they left. As the saying goes, before the army moves, the food moves first. Mengyao wanted to buy some things and mail them back first to avoid the awkwardness of not having anything. It was still early, so Mengyao and the group went to the supermarket. In the supermarket, Tang Yun was a little worried. She felt like an ugly daughter-in-law meeting her parents-in-law. She had been with Lin Yi for so long, but she hadn't visited Lin Yi's elders yet. Would old Lin, who raised him, like her? Besides, Tang Yun wanted to buy a gift, but she didn't know what to buy. She held Mingyao's hand and asked hesitantly, Yao Yao, what do you think I should buy? Although Lin Yi said that we don't need to buy anything, it's still a thought, right? If I really go to his house without bringing anything, will he think that I'm immature? Well, I'm definitely going to buy it, but I can't really tell you what to buy. I don't know what Grandpa Lin likes. Mengyao said, a little troubled. I don't know what he likes. Old man, it's nothing more than drinking and whatnot. Maybe we should buy some good stuff back? Yushu suggested. My grandpa likes to drink? That works too. I think people usually give these things to their elders. Mengyao said. Daddy always brings these things when he goes to Grandpa's house. Then let's buy a bar. But what should I buy? Tang Yun hesitated, not knowing what to buy. Why don't we ask Lin Yi? He knows us the best. Mengyao couldn't make up her mind. Lin Yi didn't go shopping with the girls, leaving the bodyguard role to Wu Qintian, who had just returned to Songshan. He himself went to the orphanage's place of residence. This was an old-fashioned residential area, very similar to the place where Chen Shi's family lived. The top floor of each building was the kind of 6-story attic room. Although it looked like a duplex, in fact, because these buildings were built for too long, the condition of the top floor was very poor. Leakage was common, and the landlord, because the rent was cheap, would not be responsible for maintenance. Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head when he saw this condition. It was really hard on these kids and that miser Yu Xiaoka. But, whether she was a miser or a miser, she still lived in a place like this. She didn't want to spend a lot of money on building an orphanage. How could she live if she ran out of money? Zihua and boss Zhu came to a simple agreement with the dean of the orphanage, exchanging a piece of land that was 5 times bigger than the orphanage's land. It seemed like the orphanage had a huge advantage, but that wasn't the case. The new land was located in a very remote area, at the edge of the city. It belonged to the suburbs, and the price of the land was much lower than the orphanage's land. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that there was a difference of 5 times. The problem was that Zihua only calculated the price of the land, and didn't include the original house. Zihua's reason was simple. The house was burned down, so how could he give them compensation? Exchanging land of the same value was a matter of course and was very fair. Although the dean wasn't willing, there was no other way. The house was gone and she didn't have any bargaining chips in her hands. She had to do whatever Zihua said. Besides, Zihua didn't want to make a big deal out of this, so he didn't let the orphanage suffer any losses when exchanging the land. The problem was that the orphanage had a huge piece of land, and they didn't have the money to build it. This was the biggest problem. Zihua and boss Zhu went back to the floating cloud bar, ready to take credit for what they did, but all they saw was a burnt-down area. Qibing, on the other hand, was sitting in an SUV not far away. Zihua jumped in fright as he ran to the SUV. Master Bing, what's going on? Is the bar on fire? Yeah, Qibing replied faintly. He didn't want to explain too much due to the humiliation. He was waiting for Elder Bai to heal him, and if it weren't for the fact that Elder Bai couldn't find another place, Zihua wouldn't be able to see Qibing. Ah, what's going on? Zihua asked. Since Elder Bai was coming, Qibing didn't want to explain too much. Nothing. How's it going on your side? Congratulations, Master Bing. Under the threats and promises of Boss Zhu and I, the headmaster of the orphanage finally gave in and agreed to exchange the land with us. Now the orphanage's land is ours. Sihua said quickly. Although the value of the land was about the same, Sihua was the one who got the better end of the deal. The land in the suburbs was useless to Sihua at all, and no one would buy it unless it was used to build a factory or something. But that was a rare occurrence, and Sihua's land was useless to him at the moment. Exchanging it to the orphanage was a huge win for him. Congratulations, my ass. Qibing couldn't hold it in anymore after hearing Sihua's words. Master Bing, we actually got the better end of the deal. That land is priceless, no one wants it. Sihua said carefully. Better? I lost 200 million to Lin Yi just because of this fire. Look, Lin Yi broke my leg and the bar was burned down by Lin Yi. Qibing said, look at me, I've lost so much. You're still taking advantage? Chapter 1728. Sihua was dumbfounded after hearing Qibing's words. He didn't notice Qibing's leg when he was sitting here, but now he realized that it was all Lin Yi's doing. Alright, it's enough that you know about it. Don't mention it again. I'll wait for Master to come and treat me. You know what to say then, right? Qibing asked. Chapter 1734. I know, Master Bing. I'll take responsibility for this myself. You're an innocent victim, Sihua said with a serious face. And not bad. Qibing nodded in satisfaction. Lin Yi pressed the doorbell. Ken was the one who'd given him the address, but he wasn't sure if it was correct or not. The buildings in this residential area didn't have numbers, and he'd had to ask around before finding this place. Soon, Xiaoka's voice came from the door. Who is it? It's me, Lin Yi said. Lin Yi? Following Xiaoka's confused voice, the door was opened. Xiaoka's face was full of surprise. Why are you here? And why are you here? Xiaoka couldn't be blamed. She didn't tell Lin Yi about the orphanage, and even if Lin Yi heard about it on the news, he wouldn't be able to find his way here. Holy hall, Lin Yi big bro, you're here. Xiao Ken ran out of the house and was very enthusiastic when he saw Lin Yi. Xiao Ken, did you tell him? Xiaoka wasn't stupid. She could guess what happened when she saw Xiao Ken and Lin Yi being so friendly. Xiaoka says, Xiao Ken was embarrassed that Xiaoka exposed him. I just mentioned it casually and Lin Yi big bro came to help. Casually mentioned it? He came. Xiaoka couldn't believe it. She glared at Xiao Ken. Tell me the truth, did you ask Lin Yi to help? Alright, I did, but Lin Yi big bro isn't an outsider. Xiao Ken lowered his head and mumbled. Not an outsider? Xiaoka's eyes widened. Could it be someone from the orphanage? Isn't he your boyfriend, Xiaoka sis? I was thinking. So I asked him to come? Xiao Ken said carefully. Xiaoka's face turned red. She wanted to say that, but Lin Yi wasn't her boyfriend. But saying it in front of Lin Yi hurt her self-esteem. Plus, Lin Yi was here to help. How could Xiaoka say something like that? It's not his fault, I asked to come. Lin Yi naturally knew what Xiaoka was thinking, but he didn't mind. I brought some money for you guys this time. Consider it as a solution to your urgent need. I heard that rebuilding the orphanage requires a lot of money, but I only have 8 million for now. You guys build a modern orphanage first, and plan all the necessary facilities. I'll think of a way to get the funds later. Xiaoka nodded. Wow, Lin Yi big bro, you're the best. You came just in time. Xiao Ken didn't think that Lin Yi would send 8 million at once, and it was just the initial funds. There would be more later too. He was extremely excited. He actually agreed to build a bigger orphanage as well. That way they could take in more abandoned babies and homeless children. 8 million? Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi in shock. She couldn't understand why Lin Yi would suddenly send 8 million to the orphanage. Based on her understanding of Lin Yi, he wasn't that kind of person, was he? Was it really like what Xiao Ken said? Did Lin Yi misunderstand something? But didn't Lin Yi have a girlfriend? And he was still thinking about her? The dean of the orphanage, on the other hand, was happy to see Lin Yi's timely help, but she was also suspicious of Lin Yi's intentions. She didn't know about the male thief, so she thought that Lin Yi really had some kind of relationship with Xiaoka. It's already been transferred to the account you told me about last time, Lin Yi said. You can check, it should be in the account already. Lin Yi, you come with me for a second. Xiaoka gritted her teeth and decided to come clean with Lin Yi. She couldn't just take advantage of Lin Yi like this, could she? She didn't like him and some things had to be made clear. Otherwise, if he really misunderstood, how could she repay him in the future? If she didn't have a male thief in her heart, she could just do what she said before and pay him back with her body. But she already had someone in her heart, and she didn't want to betray the male thief. That was why she wanted to make things clear with Lin Yi. Oh. Lin Yi paused. He really didn't think much of it, he really wanted to do something for the orphanage. Xiaoka's actions in the tomb deeply touched Lin Yi, and that was why Lin Yi was willing to help her. He didn't want Xiaoka to have anything in return. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better to send money as the male thief? Then Xiaoka might even repay him with her body, but that wasn't Lin Yi's original intention. But Xiaoka had already turned around and left the room, so he had no choice but to follow her. Xiaoka closed the door in the corridor and stopped at the corner of the stairs. What's the matter? Lin Yi looked at Xiaoka oddly. Do you like me and want to please me? Xiaoka stared at Lin Yi and lowered her voice, biting her lips. Ah. Lin Yi paused. I like you? Please you? What are you talking about? Isn't that so? Then why are you giving us money for no reason? Xiaoka was confused by Lin Yi's reaction, but she didn't believe that Lin Yi was being nice. From her perspective, someone who did things for no reason must be hiding evil intentions. The two weren't close, and Lin Yi and the others had already done their best with that donation. There was no need for him to give them money now. Plus, the amount of money he gave this time was a lot more than the total amount he donated last time. Xiaoka couldn't help but be suspicious. To tell the truth, if it weren't for the fact that he had a deeper understanding of Xiaoka in the tomb, he wouldn't have bothered to give her money. It's all because of Xiao Ken saying that you guys are in a difficult situation. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. What did you think? That you were thinking too much? I thought you had some ulterior motives. I have someone I like and he's 1,000 times better than you, so if you have other motives then don't think too much. Xiaoka sighed in relief after saying that. Lin Yi was speechless. Someone you like is 1,000 times better than me? Are you saying that I have a split personality or something? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I know you have someone you like and I don't like your skills. Chapter 1729. Humph, it's better if you don't like it. Xiaoka let out a breath of relief and smiled. I'm sorry, I almost misunderstood you. Are you really just here to help? Forget it, give me back my money. Lin Yi didn't want to argue with Xiaoka and tried to scare her. No. Xiaoka needed money, and as long as she knew that Lin Yi didn't have any other motives, how could a little money grubber like her give up the money so easily? I heard that you're going to take on some kind of mission? Lin Yi asked. Xiao Ken told you? Xiaoka pouted. He's quite nice to you. Don't go, I'll think of a way to get the rest of the money for you. With your level you might not be able to come back. Lin Yi said, if there's nothing else I'll be going. I might have to go somewhere far. Tell Xiao Ken to call me if there's anything. With that he turned around and went downstairs. He waved goodbye to Xiaoka and didn't stay for long. Since when did Lin Yi become so caring? Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi's back, confused, but suddenly she blinked and rubbed her eyes. Because in that instant she realized that Lin Yi's back gave her a very familiar feeling. This feeling made her heart beat faster uncontrollably. But when Xiaoka wanted to take a closer look, Lin Yi's figure had already disappeared into the stairs of the next floor. Xiaoka couldn't see it even if she wanted to. Xiaoka shook her head, not knowing why she had this feeling. But she didn't think much about it and quickly went back to her room. Xiaoka sis, where's Lin Yi Gich? Did he leave? Xiao Ken saw that Xiaoka came back alone and asked curiously. He's busy so he left first. Xiaoka said. Did he say anything to you? Xiao Ken saw that Xiaoka's expression was very natural, as if nothing had happened between the two. He was a little disappointed. Xiao Ken saw Xiaoka as a goddess, but he knew that he wasn't good enough for her. Plus, this worship had nothing to do with love. Only a powerful person like Lin Yi could take good care of Sister Xiaoka, so Xiao Ken was very optimistic about Lin Yi. The key was that he had promised Lin Yi to keep it a secret and not reveal his identity. Sister Xiaoka didn't seem to like Lin Yi very much, so Xiao Ken was anxious, but he couldn't say it directly, so he could only ask vaguely. Say what? Xiaoka looked at the worried expression on Ken's face and felt suspicious. I say, Ken, is there some secret between you and Lin Yi? What did he say to you? No? No. Ken shook his head determinedly. He'd promised Lin Yi that he wouldn't divulge anything. He was a man, so he naturally had to keep his word. Takitara, then why are you asking me what he said to me and what he did? What do you know? Xiaoka still didn't believe him. Actually, I think that Lin Yi bro is a good guy. That male thief is too vague for you, Xiaoka sis. Lin Yi bro is more practical, right in front of you? Xiao Ken said. Anyways, I support you and Lin Yi bro being together. What do you know, kid? Xiaoka said helplessly. Plus, Lin Yi didn't mean that. He just wanted to do something good out of kindness. He has a girlfriend, so don't think too much. Oh. Xiao Ken had no choice but to keep his mouth shut. He thought that he should say some good things about Lin Yi to Xiaoke in the future. Would be useful. Just when the orphanage was celebrating with a large sum of money, the dean was a little worried. Xiaoke had explained that Lin Yi was just doing a good deed, but from the old dean's perspective, there was something fishy about this whole thing. Lin Yi's 8 million was a little too much. Even the dean couldn't believe that Lin Yi didn't have any ulterior motives, but Xiaoke said it with certainty, and Lin Yi didn't seem to have any ulterior motives. Could it be that he was thinking too much? But no matter what, they had money now. Was a good thing. Tomorrow the dean could hire a design company to study the construction of the orphanage. Lin Yi had just left Xiaoke's place when his phone rang. He thought it was Tang Yun and the others, but it was Ling Shan. Shan? You're back in Songshan? Lin Yi was a little surprised. Yeah, I just came back. I still have work to do here and I can't stay at the house all the time. Ling Shan paused, her tone a little weird. Plus I was kicked out. Grandpa told me to meet up with you in Songshan. Meet up with me? Lin Yi blinked. Why do you want to meet up with me? I want to pursue you. Do I have to make it so clear? Ling Shan was a little troubled. Grandpa thinks of you as the hope of our family's rise, and he wants me to stick to you. Ah, then are you annoyed? Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Of course not, I've always liked you. Ling Shan was the bolder type, admitting whatever she had. She wasn't shy at all. Let's not talk about that. You called to tell me that you're back? Lin Yi wanted to contact Tang Yun and the others as soon as possible, so he didn't have time to chat with Ling Shan. No, I haven't been here for a few days and I've got a few cases backlog. Can you help me? Ling Shan said. I knew you wouldn't call me for anything good. Using me as free labor? I'll be going out for a few days so I don't have time. Lin Yi said. Help me please. Ling Shan's tone was a little coy as she said to Lin Yi. I really have a lot of cases to take care of and I can't handle all of them. Can you help me with one? Tell me about it. Lin Yi couldn't take it anymore. Recently there's a new gang active in Songshan. They're using street kids and kidnapped children to steal, but on the surface they're just street performers. I can't do anything to them because I don't have any evidence. Aren't you close with Xiaoke? Can you ask the orphanage if there's any news about it? Ling Shan and Xiaoke weren't on good terms. She knew that Xiaoke was a thief for the orphanage, so she let her off the hook. However, Ling Shan didn't want to approach her proactively, so she could only ask Lin Yi for help. Chapter 1730. After all, the orphanage should have had contact with the kidnappers before. These small gangs would buy some orphans from illegal orphanages to help them commit crimes. Of course, Xiaoke wouldn't do something like that, but these people might have had contact with Xiaoke before. Oh? Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you, Lin Yi said. But it's hard to say if there's any news. Okay, thank you so much. Contact me if there's any news, Ling Shan said. Lin Yi shook his head and hung up. As expected, Tang Yun's call came in as soon as he hung up. Inin, where are you guys? I'm done here, I'll come find you guys? Lin Yi asked. Lin Yi, we're at the supermarket we always go to. Tang Yun said. I want to buy Grandpa Lin a present, but I don't know what to get. What do you think I should get? For him? There's no need for that, right? Lin Yi and old Lin didn't have much of a relationship, and he hadn't bought anything for him all these years. In fact, Lin Yi didn't have much money in his pocket, and other than some living expenses he gave the rest to old Lin. Holy Hall, how can I do that? Mom said that I need to buy something when I'm meeting an elder for the first time. Tang Yun thought that if someone as stingy as her mom said that, then it had to be a very important etiquette. Then let's buy a few bottles of erguoto, Lin Yi said after some thought. Old Lin loved drinking but he couldn't bear to buy it. He always brewed his own wine, and only when he ran out of wine would he go to Widow Wang's store and buy a bottle of erguoto to satisfy his craving. But to be honest, old Lin's medical skills were great, but his brewing skills weren't that great. The alcohol he brewed wasn't high, and so he preferred erguoto. He used to compete with Lin Yi in drinking, but Lin Yi couldn't get drunk after 1,000 cups. So he said, it's a waste for you to drink erguoto. Drink some water with me. Erguoto? Tang Yin paused. She knew that this kind of alcohol was cheap. Her father used to drink erguoto by himself when his leg was broken, so it couldn't be expensive. Wasn't it a little inappropriate to give it to an elder? Yeah, buy a box for him. He likes to drink erguoto and eat fennel beans the most. Lin Yi said, if you buy other foreign wines he won't be used to it. Oh, all right then. Hearing Lin Yi's determination, Tang Yun could only nod and agree. Wait for me, I'll go find you. Lin Yi went downstairs and drove to the supermarket. At the same time in the cafeteria, Jianghu was eating with a bitter face, and Mingyue was helping him. And Mingyue couldn't bear to let his son eat alone, so he ate with him. If it wasn't for the fact that Jianghu was afraid of being filmed, he would have smashed the plate and left already. But if this was really put on display, his name as the Songshan young master would have been humiliated. Dad, how was it? Did it go well? Jianghu tried to find a topic to talk about as he ate. Very well. And Mingyue said, that hypnotist is really good, Pengzhan believes everything I say. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been able to invite Pengzhan out so easily. I didn't expect him to be able to hypnotize people over the phone. Of course that's a powerful person the vice leader sent to help me get money. He's very powerful along with Professor Yin and the others. They're all core members of the Firewolves. Jianghu said proudly, he can even hypnotize an idiot, let alone a normal person like Pengzhan. Jianghu, your position in the Firewolves has already surpassed mine. You've done well. Who knows, you might even be able to enter the core of the Firewolves in the future. If that happens, our house will have a bright future ahead of us. And Mingyue praised. And Mingyue really didn't know what to say about this son of hers. He was much braver than Njenda, and the things he did seemed to be impulsive and stupid. But every time he did something he would get huge amounts of money for the Firewolves. And Mingyue didn't know what to say. But, if you let the hypnotist and Professor Yin do private things for us, would they have any objections? And Mingyue lowered his voice and asked. Them? I'm in front of them right now and my words carry weight. I need to get some benefits for my house when I'm doing things for the Firewolves. Jianghu shook his head and said proudly, I'm resting now and they have nothing better to do. Even if the Firewolves find out, they won't say anything. My contribution to the Firewolves is hundreds of times more than the others. That's true. And Mingyue sighed. His son had the right to be proud now. He could use all the core resources of the Firewolves, and it showed how much the Firewolves valued him. What he said wasn't wrong. While earning money for the Firewolf gang, earning some money for his own family was nothing. This time I need to make sure that Pengzhan has nowhere else to go. That's the only way I can make Mengyao marry me. Jianghu's eyes burned with desire as he thought about it. Jianghu, with your current status and power, what kind of girl can't you get? Why are you so obsessed with Mengyao? And Mingyue didn't understand what his son was thinking. Although House Chu had Lin Yi behind them, and they looked powerful, and Mingyue didn't really care about them. They were just a noble house, and Mingyue didn't think much of them even though they were a hidden noble house. As far as he was concerned, Mengyao was just a poor young miss after he took over Pengzhan's businesses. Was there a need for Jianghu to care about her so much? Father, you don't understand. It's a childhood obsession. Jianghu said. If I can't get Mengyao, I'll always regret it. Maybe after I get her, I'll think that it's nothing, but if I can't get her, I'll never be satisfied. Alright, if you want to do it, then do it. You're all grown up now. You know what you're doing. And Mingyue stopped trying to stop him. Right, make sure you do a clean job on taking over Pengzhan Industries. Don't let House Chu know about it. I don't want to be the bad guy and make Mengyao hate me. Jianghu said. I want her body and her heart. Don't worry, I'm a veteran in the business world. I can handle things like this. Plus, with the help of a hypnotist, there won't be a problem. And Mingyue said. That's good. Jianghu nodded in relief. Right, I heard that big bro of mine isn't satisfied and came back to work? Chapter 1731. Jianda? Yes, he's back. And Mingyue sighed and said, he always felt that he was the one who laid the foundation for the business you took over. He felt that the glory you have now should belong to him. So, he was not satisfied, so he applied to the Firewolves gang and came back from the border. He wanted to be like you and use these methods to make money. His courage. Jianghu curled his lips. It's fine if he's a coward, but he's not smart either. I don't know why the Firewolves agreed to let him come back. His contributions to the Firewolves weren't small, but of course compared to yours it's much smaller. And Mingyue said, of course he came back to work just to take care of his emotions. As for assistance, they won't give him any powerful people. I think he wants to fight with me for the position of the head of Housen, right? Jianghu seemed to have seen through Njenda's thoughts. He's the big brother, of course it's not surprising. And Mingyue said, but you don't have to care about him, just do your own thing. The Firewolves aren't idiots, they know who's stronger. I understand, Jianghu nodded. I'm just saying, let him do what he wants. Lin Yi drove to the supermarket, and Lin Yi saw Mingyao's Audi S5 in the parking lot. He parked beside her car and entered the supermarket. Since Lin Yi was very good at finding people, and so he quickly found Tang Yun and the others who were buying erguoto. Yun, you don't need to buy that much, right? Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw Tang Yun buying 2 boxes of erguoto. Actually, the village sells it too. It's just a token of your sincerity, 1 box is enough. Linny said as he put 1 box back. I see, I was thinking of buying more. Tang Yun was a little embarrassed. Are you guys done? Linny asked. Yeah, almost. Mingyao pointed at Qintian, who was pushing 2 full carts. I've bought everything I need. Linny took a look and saw Qintian pushing a cart with each hand. It was fortunate that the guy was a practitioner, otherwise normal people wouldn't even be able to push a cart. He didn't know how Mingyao and the others managed to get there, but the things in the cart were piled up like a small mountain. It's just a vacation. You don't have to be so exaggerated, right? Linny said helplessly, let's go. Let's go and settle the bill. Thief. There's a thief. Just when Lin Yi and the others were about to pay the bill, Yushu pointed at a pregnant woman not too far away. She's a thief. She stole 2 bottles of red wine. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't want to get involved in this kind of thing. The supermarket security would take care of it, and Xiaoka was a thief as well. Maybe the pregnant woman had something she couldn't disclose, so Lin Yi didn't want to get involved. Chapter 333, but with Yushu's shout, they had no choice but to take care of it. All the customers around them turned to look at the direction Yushu was pointing at, and the supermarket security came running over after hearing the shout. Shu, is she really a thief? Did you see it? Mingyao was actually quite a righteous person, but she hesitated when she saw that the thief was a pregnant woman. Wouldn't it be difficult for a pregnant woman to steal things? Where's the thief? Who is the thief? At this time, the security guard in the mall also quickly ran over, looked at the crowd and asked. No one answered, but everyone's eyes were on the pregnant woman near the wine rack. They were here to watch the commotion and they didn't see the theft. Naturally, they wouldn't say anything. It's her, I saw her steal 2 bottles of wine. Yushu pointed at the pregnant woman. The security guard frowned. This kind of pregnant woman thief was their biggest headache, and they didn't know how to deal with it. If they were not careful and something happened, it would be a big deal. Not only would they lose their jobs, but they would also have to pay for it. So the leader of the security was very cautious and he said to the others, don't let her leave, I'll call the police immediately. But before they could say anything, the pregnant woman turned around and wanted to leave. Mom, you can't leave yet. Please wait for the police to come, okay? One of the security stopped the pregnant woman and said carefully, why can't I leave? What? Because she called me a thief? The pregnant woman was angry and she pointed at Yushu and said, then I called her a thief too. I only have this small purse with me. Where am I going to steal anything? The security was speechless and he didn't know what to do. Ouch, my stomach hurts. The pregnant woman suddenly held her stomach and said, is this how you treat a pregnant woman in the supermarket? I'm going to the hospital, move. The security looked at the security captain helplessly. The security captain also looked at Yushu with a troubled look. If he really lost something in this supermarket and he let the suspect go, the boss would definitely blame him. But if he didn't let her go now, it'd be troublesome if something happened. Moreover, looking at the price of the wine on the shelf behind her, they were all measured in units of 10,000. If she really stole it, he wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. She's pregnant. But she has 2 bottles of wine in her stomach. Yushu pointed at the pregnant woman and said. The people at the scene heard Yushu's words, and they almost burst into laughter. So this pregnant woman was fake and she hid the wine in her stomach? No wonder she said that she only had a small purse with her and nothing else, so this was the reason. Ma'am, can you open your clothes and have a look? The security captain heard Yushu's words and he calmed down. Normally, if people weren't sure, they wouldn't be so confident. My stomach hurts, it hurts so much. The pregnant woman suddenly lay on the ground, her hands covering her stomach, and then she shouted. Wife, what's wrong? At this time, a man with a scar on his face ran out from the crowd, pushed the security captain away, and hugged the pregnant woman lying on the ground and shouted to the security captain, my wife needs to be sent to the hospital immediately, I'll sue your supermarket. If anything happens to my wife, I'll sue you for murder. The security captain didn't expect that another pregnant woman's husband would come and say such harsh words, which made him hesitate. It wasn't easy for him to do this job. He was sandwiched between the boss and the customer, so when he heard the man's words, he flinched. Chapter 1732. Linny frowned. He didn't want to waste any more time here, so he quickly walked to the pregnant woman and lifted the hem of her clothes. He took out a big bag and the pregnant woman's belly deflated. He opened the big bag and it was filled with famous cigarettes and alcohol, worth hundreds of thousands. Lin Yi was a doctor, and it was easy for him to tell if the woman was pregnant or not. Since he was sure that she wasn't, he didn't need to spoil her. So it's fake. There's a bag in her belly. The crowd said. Yeah, this woman is actually pregnant with famous cigarettes and wine. This is really amazing. Whoever finds such a wife will be rich. Another person in the crowd said with a smile. Please come with us to the security room. The security captain saw this and wasn't afraid anymore. Even if the pregnant woman was fake, there wouldn't be a problem. However, just when everyone was cheering, the man who claimed to be the pregnant woman's husband disappeared. When the security captain wanted to invite the man to the security room, he realized that the man had already left. Although Lin Yi saw that the man had left, he didn't stop him. He had done enough. The group paid the bill and went to the parking lot. They loaded the things they bought into the car, and just as they closed the door, they were surrounded by a few people. Since the parking lot was open air and there were no surveillance cameras, these people were very unscrupulous. Guys, you've done a good job and now you want to leave? Among these people, the leader was the man who claimed to be the pregnant woman's husband. Behind him were two strong men, and it was obvious that they weren't good people. In terms of numbers, there were 2 men and 3 women on Lin Yi's side. It seemed like they had the advantage, but in fact there were 2 strong men on Scarface's side. In terms of size, they obviously had an advantage over Lin Yi and Wu Qintian. There's still a bonus if we don't leave? Lin Yi asked. Bonus? Are you dreaming? You ruined my good thing and you still want a bonus? Scarface sneered and stopped joking with Lin Yi. Land Rover Discovery 4, Audi S5. Not bad. You're quite rich, aren't you? Today you've caused me to lose more than 100,000 yuan. My wife has also lost her life. Don't you think you should give me some compensation? Your wife pretended to be pregnant and stole, and you still want compensation? Why are you so dumb? Yushu said, Shield bro, ignore him, let's go home. That's true. Let's go. Lin Yi shrugged and was about to get into the car. Kid, do you think I'm messing with you? Get in the car? I'm telling you, I'm going to detain your car. If you don't get 200,000. No, 500,000 yuan, don't even think about driving your car back. As Scarface spoke, he winked at a burly man beside him and said, Teach them a lesson. Yes. One of the burly men responded and then laughed. He took a brick from behind him and said to Lin Yi, Kid, I think you have too little experience in society. You don't know how high the sky is. As he spoke, he held the brick in his left hand and punched it with his right fist. With a loud bang, the brick shattered. Kid, before you leave, think about it. Is your head harder or the brick harder? The burly man who broke the brick patted the dust off his hand and said arrogantly, Shield bro, is this person a street performer? Why does he look like those people who break rocks on their chests? Yushu asked curiously. I think so. Otherwise, who would bring a brick out for no reason? Lin Yi nodded. Oh, then I'll give you 10 yuan. You've been working hard, performing for so long. Yushu said as she took out 10 yuan from her pocket and gave it to the burly man. I think you guys don't know how high the sky is, do you? The burly man's face darkened when he heard Yushu's words. He was indeed a street performer, and Yushu hit the nail on the head. Wu Qintian, you tell him whose fist is harder. Lin Yi said as he looked at Qintian. Okay, boss. Qintian couldn't hold it in any longer, but he didn't dare to do anything without Lin Yi's permission. Now that Lin Yi had spoken, he jumped out immediately and walked to the triangular hammer beside the parking lot. He raised his fist and smashed it down, and the solid hammer was smashed into a metal plate. After that, Qintian shook off the dust on his hands. Idiot, trying to act tough in front of my boss? Think about it first. Is your head harder or is this iron all harder? What? The burly man and Scarface were dumbfounded. They never would have thought that they would meet a tough opponent today. They were just punching a brick, but the other side was smashing a metal plate into a metal plate. It was clear who was better. Get the hell out of here if you don't want to die. What the hell? Qintian humphed and returned to Lin Yi's side. Let's go. Lin Yi didn't bother with Scarface anymore and got in the Rover. Qintian got in Mingyao's Audi S5, but Tang Yun, Mingyao, and Yushu all sat in Lin Yi's car. The 2 cars sped away in front of Scarface, leaving him staring at the metal plate on the ground in disbelief. Scarface bro, this seems real. This metal plate really was smashed into a metal plate? The burly man said in shock as he looked at the metal plate on the ground. Bullshit, of course I know it's real. Scarface raged. Do you think I'd let them leave if it wasn't real? Then now we... The burly man asked carefully. Fuck, we had a bad start. Let's go back and think of a way to explain to Debro. Debro sent us out to get money, but we didn't get any money. Instead we got caught in the supermarket and now we're being threatened. Scarface said unhappily. Linny didn't mind this little interlude. After returning to the villa, everyone started to get busy. They packed the things they bought and some daily necessities. Most of them were going to be mailed back and only a small amount was left in the car. The next morning after they mailed the things, they started their journey. Lin Yi originally wanted to find some tourist attractions along the way, but Tang Yun and the others seemed to want to get to Star West Village first. They weren't interested in the tourist attractions, so Lin Yi chose the shortest route and went straight to Star West Village. Chapter 1733. Distinguished guests arrive. On the day Lin Yi departed, the Kong family also welcomed 2 uninvited guests. Kong Guifeng looked at the 2 strangers in front of his house and was a little confused. He didn't know who they were, but judging from their temperament, they were very extraordinary. So, Kong Guifeng didn't dare to neglect them. He quickly asked, "May I ask, why are you 2 visiting our Kong family? Are you from the Kong family?" Among the 2, one of them was obviously a follower and asked Kong Guifeng. "Yes, I am the eldest son of the Kong family, Kong Guifeng. May I ask who you 2 are?" Kong Guifeng asked hesitantly. "This is the young master of the Hidden Yu family, Yu Jintian. Why aren't you opening the door and letting the master of the Kong family come out to welcome you?" The follower looked at Kong Guifeng and said arrogantly, "Ah, Hidden Yu family?" Kong Guifeng was a little dumbfounded when he heard this name. Within his range of contact, the families in the secular world were already unreachable. But the hidden families were as high as the sky. Although he knew about the hidden families, he had only heard of them. He had never come into contact with them. At this time, a hidden family suddenly came to visit. This made Kong Guifeng a little lost. However, he knew that the hidden families were superior to the Kong family. "Third, you don't be so blunt. Although we are a hidden family, Master Kang's seniority is there. There's no need to let him come out to welcome us." Yu Jintian waved his hand and said, "The Hidden Yu family came this time to cooperate with the Kong family so they wouldn't be too arrogant. How can we do that? Both of you are from a hidden family. I will let someone open the door and let my father come out to welcome the 2 distinguished guests." Kong Guifeng knew that Yu Jintian was probably just being polite, so he didn't dare to neglect him. He quickly ordered a few servants at the door to open the door and quickly called Dr. Kong. Dr. Kong didn't have a good time these few days. He couldn't compete for the title of a noble family. Not only that, but the Kong family had been completely excluded from the sphere of influence of the noble families. In the territory of the member families of the Cultivator Association led by Lin Yi, the Kong family's business would probably have a hard time. He previously wanted to cooperate with the Shao family and form an alliance with the Hidden Pai family, but he didn't know if they would take a liking to the Kong family. Miracle Dr. Kang's phone rang as he was worrying about it. "Hello." Miracle Dr. Kong snapped out of his daze and quickly picked up the phone. This was his private number and only House Shao and his own people knew about it, so Miracle Dr. Kong took it very seriously. "Father, I'm Guifeng." Guifeng said. "Guifeng? Why didn't you tell me? Why are you calling from home?" Dr. Kong was confused. "Father, there are 2 distinguished guests at home. Bring your brother and the younger generation and come out to welcome them." Kong Guifeng said hurriedly. Although Yu Jintian was polite, he could not give him face. "What distinguished guests? Do I have to welcome them? Could it be the 2 brothers from the Shao family are here?" Dr. Kong was stunned. After all, the 2 brothers from the Shao family were the younger generation, but no matter how poor the Shao family was, they still had the support of the Hidden Pai family. The Kong family had nothing. "It's the young master of the Hidden Yu family," Kong Guifeng said. "What? The Hidden Yu family?" Dr. Kong jumped up from his chair. He didn't expect that someone from a hidden house would come to the Kong family. He said hurriedly, "Okay, wait for me. I'll be right there." Dr. Kong hurriedly found Kong Tsuepu, Kong Xiaolong and Kong Mingming. They came to the entrance of House Kong and saw 2 people with extraordinary auras talking to Kong Guifeng. "Distinguished guests, I am the master of House Kong, Kong Laikai. Distinguished guests, please." Dr. Kong heard that they were from a hidden house, so naturally he was very respectful. "Master Kong, you don't have to be so polite. We are from the Hidden Yu family. We also research medicine in the hidden house. We are in the same industry." Yu Jintian smiled. "Elder Kong, please." "Aha, compared to you, we are just small fries. How is this medicine research?" Dr. Kong heard the kindness in Yu Jintian's words and was very excited. It seemed that the hidden Yu family came for a good thing. The few of them came to the Kong family's living room. Yu third introduced Yu Jintian. Dr. Kong was even more excited. So it's the young master of House Yu. My apologies for not recognizing you. I heard that House Yu is a medical family that specializes in alchemy. It's a great honor for us to have you as a guest. Old clan head Kong, we've come this time around for a certain matter. Yu Jintian waved his hand. You don't have to be so polite. We came here with the intention of learning. Young Master Yu, you're too kind. Just tell us what you want. Dr. Kong heard Yu Jintian's tone and was flattered. It's like this, Yu Jintian said. Our hidden house Yu has a good relationship with the hidden house Pai, and we've received news from him that your house Kong is researching the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Have you made any progress? Pill of life extension and toxin cleansing? Dr. Kong paused. He immediately understood why House Yu was here. They were here for the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. No wonder they were so polite. However, Dr. Kong knew that he couldn't speak carelessly in front of a hidden family. He could only tell the truth. There is indeed such a thing, but the recipe. We're not researching it, we're stealing it. Stealing? What do you mean? Yu Jintian paused. I'm sure you know about House Yu's auction, young Master Yu? Dr. Kong asked. Auction? What auction? Yu Jintian didn't quite understand Dr. Kang's words. Yu Jintian's answer surprised Dr. Kong as well. From what he could see, the hidden House Yu didn't know about House Yu's auction? In reality, the hidden House Yu had never paid attention to the mundane world's matters. The 9 great houses in the mundane world didn't have much contact with the hidden houses either. Other than the mundane House Yu and the hidden House Yu, even the Shao family only recently contacted House Pai. So it was normal that the hidden House Yu didn't pay attention to the mundane world's auction. It's like this. Dr. Kong saw that Yu Jintian really didn't know, so he didn't hide it. He told Yu Jintian everything about how Guan Xueming had made the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. So you're saying that you're going to steal Guan Xueming's recipe? Yu Jintian frowned. He seemed to have found the wrong partner. He should have gone straight to Guan Xueming. The prequel of Very Pure, Very Ambiguous contains the origin of Lin Yi's jade. Chapter 1734. Two Families Working Together, Part 1. Yes, House Kong has this plan, and it's in progress. Dr. Kong nodded and pointed at Kong Ming Ming. This matter has always been handled by my grandson Zhao Ming. Oh, if that's the case, then we'll have to trouble you, old Master Kong. Yu Jintian heard that Dr. Kong didn't have the formula, so he didn't have the mood to talk to them anymore. His next step was to ask Guan Xueming for the formula. Dr. Kong saw that Yu Jintian was about to leave and panicked. It wasn't easy for House Kong to find a backer. If he were to leave just like that, he would regret it to death. Young Master Yu, please wait. At this moment, Kong Ming Ming spoke. Is there anything else? Yu Jintian frowned and turned his head to look at Kong Xiaoming. He didn't put a junior in his eyes, but he did come with courtesy. Although he didn't get anything, it didn't hurt to be polite when he left. Young Master Yu, may I ask if you want to ask Guan Xueming for the formula? Kong Ming Ming asked. So what if I am? Yu Jintian asked back. Young Master Yu, you don't know Guan Xueming's personality. If we could get the formula, we would have asked for it a long time ago. Kong Ming Ming said, Guan Xueming is a person who doesn't listen to persuasion or force. He doesn't seek fame or fortune. House Yu once wanted to make Guan Xueming's family a noble house, but he rejected it. Do you think he would give the formula to such a person directly? Yu Jintian wasn't an idiot. He understood the meaning behind Kong Ming Ming's words. He turned around and sat down again. He asked, in your opinion, how should I get this formula? It seemed like House Kong had tried before. Since they didn't succeed, Yu Jintian might not succeed even if he asked for it. Since Guan Xueming didn't seek fame and fortune, he definitely wouldn't care about the benefits promised by the hidden Yu family. Hence, Yu Jintian sat down again to see what Kong Ming Ming had to say. Actually, young master, right, if you force him with force, he might hand over the formula. Kong Ming Ming said. That won't do. I'll use force to force him to hand over the recipe. If the Hidden House Association finds out, they'll definitely come after us. Yu Jintian shook his head. Although the Hidden House Arbitration Association was in danger of collapsing at any time, no one wanted to be the one to test the waters. All the hidden families knew that the great elder of the Arbitration Association had disappeared for many years, but no one knew where he had gone or if he would ever return. Back then, it was said that he made contact with those missing heaven-rank powerhouses and then went to pursue the heavenly law. However, did he disappear with those missing heaven-rank powerhouses, or did he fail in his pursuit of the heavenly law? These were all shrouded in mystery. Currently, the Hidden House Arbitration Association was managed by each hidden family and sect with an elder from each family. It was just that each family supervised each other together. But now, each family had thoughts of breaking this rule, but they were afraid that the great elder would suddenly return. Hence, they were all waiting for some hidden family or sect to take the lead and see if the great elder would appear. Hence, under these circumstances, the Hidden Yu family wasn't a fool. Even with the support of the Heavenly Elixir sect, they wouldn't dare to take the lead. In his opinion, whoever wanted to do it could do it. Anyway, the Hidden Yu family wasn't a fool. That's why I said that only our Kong family can be the villain. You Hidden Yu family can only do it in the dark, not in the open. Otherwise there'll be trouble. Kong Ming had vaguely heard Xiao Wangba and Xiao Wangdao talk about the hidden family's rules when they were bragging, so he deliberately said that just now. His goal was to prevent the Hidden Yu family from leaving. Since Yu Jintian could become the young master, he naturally wasn't someone to be trifled with. After hearing Kong Ming's words, he understood what he meant. If you want the formula, the best way is to cooperate with the Kong family. If you don't cooperate with us, then you'll have to be the villain. I'm afraid you'll attract the blame of the Hidden House Arbitration Association. Then the gains won't make up for the losses. Of course, Yu Jintian could also choose to cooperate with others, one in the open and one in the dark. But with a ready-made partner like the Kong family, he didn't need to waste time looking for others. Thinking of this, Yu Jintian slowly nodded. What you mean is that your Kong family will be in the open while our Hidden Yu family will help you in the dark. Of course, all the conflicts will be borne by your Kong family while we only need to do things in the dark. Is that right? That's right. Kong Ming nodded. I actually have a good plan here, but I haven't had a suitable candidate to execute it. If young Master Yu is willing, our two families are a match made in heaven. We'll definitely be able to get the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing's formula this time. Let's talk about it. But let's make this clear first. We can provide manpower, but you definitely can't tell anyone about our Hidden Yu family's activities in the common world. Yu Jintian warned. Otherwise, even if the Yu family is blamed, you won't have it any better. Young Master Yu, don't worry. If we're so insensible, we wouldn't be talking about cooperating with you. Kong Ming nodded. Alright then, tell me your plan. Yu Jintian asked. Dr. Kong didn't expect that the Yu family that was about to leave would be turned around by Kong Ming with just a few words. He was overjoyed and looked at Kong Ming with even more fondness. He really didn't know that this grandson of his was such a talent. The few times when House Kong was in trouble, it was all because of Kong Ming's good ideas. Hence, Dr. Kong increasingly felt that Kong Ming was better than Kong Xiaolong. Although Kong Guifeng didn't feel good, he had to admit that Kong Ming's ability was better than his. No matter what, he was able to make the Hidden Yu family stay and cooperate with the Kong family. That was a great ability. That Guan Shuamin is unmoved by force or persuasion, and he doesn't seek fame or fortune. It can be said that he has no weakness. Kong Ming said. But I know his weakness. Oh? What is it? Unknowingly, Yu Jintian was led by the nose by Kong Ming's thoughts. That's his granddaughter, Guan Xan. Guan Shuamin loves this granddaughter very much. If we kidnap her and ask for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing from Guan Shuamin will definitely give it to us. Kong Ming had this idea for a long time, but he didn't dare to carry it out. Now that the Hidden Yu family was here, he could let them do it. Oh, that's simple? Then your Kong family can do it yourself. Why would you need to cooperate with the Hidden Yu family? Yu Jintian wasn't stupid and immediately saw the problem. Chapter 1735. Between the Two Families, Part 2. Young Master Yu is wise. Kong Ming flattered without leaving a trace, then said, Our Kong family doesn't have any cultivators, but Guan Shuamin has a good relationship with a cultivator. That cultivator has the strength of an Earth-class early phase. We don't have any experts in our hands, so how would we dare to kidnap him? Isn't that courting death? Guan Shuamin has an Earth-class early phase cultivator friend? After Yu Jintian heard Kong Ming's words, he was stunned. He didn't expect Guan Shuamin to be so arrogant to have such a friend. But come to think of it, although the Hidden Yu family was a family of medicine and alchemy, they knew the importance of medicine and alchemy in a hidden family, and the Hidden Yu family also recruited many experts to their side. But the key problem was that Guan Shuamin was just an ordinary doctor. It wasn't surprising that he had a few golden class friends, but it was difficult to have a mystic class, let alone an earth class. Yes, that's why we didn't dare to act rashly. Kang Ming nodded and said, Earth-class expert. Yu Jintian frowned. When did an Earth-class expert appear in the secular world? And Guan Xuemin's friend? Could it be someone from another hidden family? If that was the case, then it would be difficult. If he really went against Guan Xuemin and offended the other hidden families, wouldn't he be making an enemy for no reason? Kang Ming seemed to see through Yu Jintian's worry and quickly said, that Earth-class expert is called Lin Yi. He's a lone cultivator with no background, so you don't have to worry, young master Yu. What? Lin Yi? Yu Jintian was stunned. Why was this name so familiar? But in the next moment he immediately remembered who this person was. Wasn't this the person who injured Yu Coiling Tiger, crippled the blue-haired expert of the family, and caused a ruckus in the hidden Tang family? If Kang Ming didn't mention this name, Yu Jintian might have retreated a little. But when he heard that it was Lin Yi, Yu Jintian's eyes burned with anger. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, the envoy from the Heavenly Elixir sect wouldn't have been humiliated. Yu Jintian wasn't blamed by the Heavenly Elixir sect because the envoy was too embarrassed to tell them that he was humiliated. But in order to appease the envoy, the hidden Yu Jintian had paid a huge price and privately gave the envoy a lot of money and rare alchemy materials. And this Lin Yi was the Yu family's greatest enemy. When Yu Jintian heard that Guan Xueming's backer was Lin Yi, he was even more confident in dealing with Guan Xueming. Why, young master Yu, do you know this person? Kang Ming was confused by Yu Jintian's reaction. Of course we know each other. We are enemies. Yu Jintian sneered and said, we can hide the fact that the Yu family is involved in this matter, but you must keep it a secret for us. Don't let the news get out. If anything happens, we will say that the Kang family did it. Can you agree? Yu Jintian had more considerations. First, he was afraid of being blamed by the hidden Tang family's arbitration association. Second, Lin Yi was related to the Ice Palace. Although the hidden Yu family had a backer, it was best not to cause any trouble. Of course. Kang Xiaoming didn't even think about it. House Kang had already fallen out with Lin Yi, so he didn't care about anything else. They could use this opportunity to show Lin Yi Kang family's strength. Lin Yi Kang family also had experts. This was Kang Ming's intention. He couldn't wait for the Kang family to be in the limelight, because this was the only way to defeat Lin Yi in a dominant manner. Only then could they show the other members of the Cultivator Association that the Kang family was very powerful. What about old Master Kang? Yu Jintian turned to look at Dr. Kang. Of course. Xiaoming's intention is our Kang family's intention. Dr. Kang had the same thought as Kang Ming. He couldn't wait for others to think this was the Kang family's doing. Only then could they establish their authority. All right. If that's the case, the Yu family will send experts. Yu Jintian nodded. But I can't show up. That's not a problem. But the experts that young Master Yu sends have to listen to my command. Otherwise, it'll be hard for me to do things. Kang Ming said. All right, our men are all under your command. I only want results. Yu Jintian didn't care about this. He let Kang Ming do whatever he wanted as long as it didn't implicate the Yu family. All right, can you send a heaven stage expert? That way we can suppress Lin Yi. Kang Ming said. I'm afraid that won't work. Yu Jintian rejected Kang Ming's suggestion. The number of heaven stage experts in the hidden family level is limited. If something happens, it's easy to guess who did it. Moreover, with the Kang family's current strength, do you think it's possible for you to have a heaven stage expert? Even if you say it out, no one will believe it. They will definitely suspect that there's an inside story. Then, Kang Ming was a little disappointed. He wanted to control a heaven stage expert. Lin Yi is an earth stage early stage expert. This is a little difficult. Yu Jintian pondered for a while and said, Earth stage experts are rare in the secular world. They almost don't exist. It's already strange that the Kang family has one. Moreover, the higher the level of strength, the easier it is to be suspected. How about this? We'll send an Earth stage middle stage expert to help you. This way he'll be 2 levels higher than Lin Yi and can completely defeat him. That's fine too. Although Kang Ming didn't reach his expectations, Yu Jintian was right. Who would believe that the Kang family had a heaven stage expert? As for why there's an earth stage expert, you can think of a reason to make it up. Don't involve our hidden Yu family. Yu Jintian said. Of course. Kang Ming nodded. All right, then it's settled. I'll go back and find a suitable candidate and send him over. Yu Jintian said and prepared to leave. Wait a minute. Kang Ming stopped Yu Jintian again. Young Master Kang, is there anything else? Yu Jintian's attitude towards Kang Ming was much better this time. He realized that this kid had a lot of tricks up his sleeves, so he gave him some face. Young Master Yu, this matter has been discussed. Then shouldn't we talk about whether our Kong family helped you hide the Yu family and did such a big thing? Are there any benefits? Kong Ming had recently read a few black-bellied books. Although he was still a playboy, the way he handled things was much better than before. Our Yu family is secretly helping you. When we get the formula, we'll both have a share. What's wrong with that? Yu Zhentian asked. The formula isn't some other treasure. Can't we just make another copy? Hashtag.